the smile and happiness when you are doing a rally and sitting in the rally car. I was smiling, and I went from the...
You're smiling now.
I went for the happiness. When you're coming out from a car, you are so full of energy, you know.
You'd be hard-pressed to find a form of motorsports with as many variables as rally, defined by constantly changing terrain, unpredictable conditions, and an ever-present level of risk. And few have mastered the art of rally quite like Petter Solberg. His driving was fast, technical, and remarkably smooth. The car could be sideways, dancing from one corner to the next, yet Petter always seemed composed at the limit. Outside the car, there was considerably less restraint.
The team got a phone call because I was swearing a lot always. The team called me before the last stage. When you finish the line, don't swear because a lot of kids is watching, you know. I was thinking, what the fuck? You know, came over the finish line, fucking hell, you know.
They called him Mr. Hollywood, a nickname born from the emotion, the celebrations, and a personality that made him impossible to miss. But behind the personality were the results. In 2003, after a season-long battle with Sebastian Loeb, Petter Solberg became World Rally Champion. He would finish his WRC career with 13 victories, 459 stage wins, and an unmatched 4 consecutive victories at Rally GB. And more than a decade after his first world title, Petter became world champion twice more, winning back-to-back World Rallycross championships in 2014 and 15.
And a teacher I remember very well, you have to focus more on school because you will not be anything in the world, you know. And I remember when I was world champion, there was 10,000 people meeting up on my farm. The teacher came over and said, Petter, I was wrong, you know. I was very wrong.
A career built on speed, personality, and a philosophy of always giving it 110%.
I believe I wanted it more than the other guys, basically, you know. When you do it, you have to put in 110%. That's it.
Gypsy gang, welcome Petter Solberg to the podcast. I cannot stand over-the-top YouTubers that start every single video with like, subscribe, smash that like button. I never, ever wanted to be that guy. But in the 7 years that I've been doing this, I would see over and over and over the comments that say, man, how does this channel not have more subscribers? And on the Jet Lawrence podcast, I finally caved. And I asked the Gypsy gang to check to see if they were subscribed, because we have the data and we know that 70% of the people that watch this podcast regularly aren't subscribed. And I was really interested to see what would happen if I just straight up asked you at the start of an episode. Well, it turns out exactly 4,100 people subscribed to the podcast off that one episode alone, and 7,000 people subscribed last month. So thank you very much. And subscribing to the podcast is something that you can do completely for free, but it actually has a pretty massive follow-on effect with everything that we do. That number is in every presentation that we give to sponsors. It's in every presentation that we give to guests that we're trying to get on the pod, and a whole lot more. Those 7,000 subscribers that we got last month finally pushed us over the 100K mark on this full show channel, taking us well over 350,000 subscribers on YouTube in total. So if you still don't know whether or not you're subscribed, double check now. And thank you so much for watching. Petter Solberg, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm stoked to be doing this.
Yeah, I normally don't do so much podcast, but you know, this one with Monster, you know, is always exciting, you know.
Yeah. So I am from Australia, but I'm from the generation of kids in Australia that had 4 TV stations.
Yeah. And
one of them was the SBS, and that had the World Rally Championship on it. And so I was born in 88. So 2000, 2001, 2003, 4, 5, that was my era of WRC, which just happened to be the era that you were at the top of the sport. So very, very cool to be sitting here doing this podcast.
That's right. You know, we were driving in Perth for many, many years, you know. Fantastic place. And I also get engaged in Australia, in Perth.
Really?
Yeah. So, you know, we have a lot of good connection here. We have a lot of friends there also from Brisbane, you know, and all over the place. So Oh, it's always been good. I won Rally Australia also one time.
Yeah.
And I hit the kangaroo one time, straight in the engine bay.
No way.
And the kangaroo exploded inside the engine. I was leading with 1 minute, retired.
No.
We went party. That was the main thing.
How was Perth to party in?
Oh, fantastic. Okay, Gold Coast is the best maybe.
Yeah.
I think Sydney is more like a normal city, you know,
Yeah.
like a business town, you know, like Oslo or Stockholm. And but Perth has its own, you know, passion and place. And then Gold Coast again is you know, it's like a different level again, you know.
What's the rally? Is there any rally stuff that happens in Australia these days?
Yeah, it's a lot of rallies, but they are working on to get the World Championship back again.
Yeah.
It was actually one of the best rallies in the World Championship, because when you had 3 super specials in Perth,
Yeah.
in different places of the city, and they had like Colin McRae grandstand, they had Peter Solberg grandstand, Carlos Sainz grandstand. So you know they were so good at building up this, you know, for the spectators and fans to be, you know,
Yeah.
get the drivers basically, you know. And I think that's the right way. They're doing it also very well in Formula One now, you know, because of the Netflix series. So it's building stars. This is the main thing.
Yeah, well, Australia really did do a good job of promoting the rally because, I mean, yeah, it was a huge thing when I was a kid, and I grew up in Cairns, which is like literally the exact opposite to Perth, but it was just still a massive thing. I mean, I came from a motorsports family. Like my dad was obviously super into anything with a motor, so I had like a good example there to follow. But I mean, yeah, it was just the Targa Rally in Tasmania. Then we had the WRC stuff. Like it was a super big deal back then.
Yeah,
and that was the golden age of WRC. It feels like.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you had a lot of good stars, but also, you know, when the government is involved properly into the championship from the countries you're coming to, you know, it's always makes a massive difference. You know.
Yeah.
It's like in Paraguay was first time last year. The prime minister was all in, you know, came to every day, followed for the fans and the people. And so I think it's coming up to the people again, who is responsible to how big this can be. It's showing their own interest, because it's an investment for the countries, you know, like Formula One and Rally, and bringing all these spectators. And I see on Formula One, just to take that, you know, in Australia, I mean, it was a huge success with people, but in rallying sometimes you have 500,000-600,000 spectators. I think the most we ever had was in Argentina with 1.2 million. So I mean,
that's wild.
Yeah, because it's
so spread out.
It's so spread out, and when you're driving with the helicopter over, you know, it's absolutely packed. You know, so. Amount of spectators, is huge, but the effort to come and go into the stages with the families, sleeping in a tent, barbecue, especially in Australia, there's a lot of barbecue. It's different emotions compared with driving to or going to a Formula One, you know. So
for sure,
you have the different people in each type of sports, basically, you know.
Yeah, definitely. The kangaroos are a lot harder than what people think, right?
Unbelievable.
They're fucking stacked.
I had the camera in the center of the front of the car, and we had a helicopter flying in front, and then it wake up and scare the kangaroo, jumped straight into the road, and he looked straight into the camera with his eyes. It's actually on YouTube. And I mean, it's a compact 70-80 kilo, but the rally was over, that's for sure.
Oh man, we've hit our fair share of kangaroos in our day.
Yeah.
And we used to do a lot of camping because we grew up in the north. And my dad, I remember it was like one of my first memories of building being in the shed, building something with my dad. We had a 60 series Land Cruiser, and he fabricated up a full-on kangaroo bar for the front of his Land Cruiser because we kept hitting these kangaroos. And after a while, just fucking just keep going, eh? But they're so solid.
Yeah, but it's crazy, you know. We have like a lot of elk.
Yep.
Elk, moose,
Deer,
and I actually hit one now a few weeks ago, you know.
No.
With my wife's car. So it doesn't matter. It was not my car, so it's okay. You know?
Yeah.
Straight in them. So, I mean, yeah.
Shit
happens basically, you know.
I feel like kangaroos are one of the only creatures on Earth that just don't have self-preservation. Like they actively jump into the front of vehicles. It's insane.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
We just spent over a month across Europe earlier this year and it was carnage. A new city every few days, a different bed every night, eating wherever we could get it, and half the time I genuinely didn't know which day it was. We hit 5 major events and did 18 episodes of the podcast. One of the things that kept me going though was the scoop of AG1 in the morning. 8 ounces of cold water before anything else happened, and I was ready to take on the day. 75 plus ingredients in the new gen formula, clinically shown to support gut health and fill common nutrients gaps. I have it every morning on the road or at home, and that gut health bit is the real win for me, especially while traveling. Visit ag1.com/gypsytales and get a free AG1 flavor sampler and a free bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2 in your welcome kit with your first AG1 subscription order. That's drinkag1.com/gypsytales. So that period of time, is it true to say that was pretty much like the golden era of WRC, do you think?
Well, I think you know, from decade to decade, it's always different. But you have to remember when we had Colin McRae there, you know, who had the Colin McRae game.
Yeah.
I mean, it made a huge impact.
Could you feel it?
For sure. And the cool thing, I was a part of developing this first Colin McRae game that came out.
Yeah.
So because I was teammate with Colin.
Yeah.
So when we were driving around or flying around to each country, we stayed in a hotel room at night, testing this game in the bed together, and writing down how to improve things. It's still a very good game that time. And unfortunately, when you know, he died, and his wife wanted me to take over the game because I was involved in it, you know. And I had a contract with Microsoft America at that time, so I couldn't get out of the contract to take over Colin McRae's game.
Oh.
That's when the name changed to Dirt, basically, you know.
Yeah.
But the history, you know, to been taken over the game, you know, it would have been incredible, you know. So
yeah, so it would have been Solberg Rally.
Yeah, that was the plan. So, but still, you know, I think again back to what you say, the huge impact over the world.
Yeah.
You know, in America and stuff, they never thought Colin McRae was real because
it was a game. Yeah.
It was a game, you know.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Man, just so iconic. Like the very first part when you very first play that game. When you're ready, put your foot down. Yeah. And then that's the first thing that you've like. It's so burned into my brain.
It's really good fun. You know, I game a lot, and Oliver also. So we, you know, even if I'm just over 50, you know, I'm still a child to play this game, and we're playing still sometimes. You know, we have this club, you know, with Andretti, with Vettel.
Really?
So it's called Legends.
Yeah.
So we are in the WhatsApp group, and then we drive sometimes, and yeah, Montoya, Jensen Button, and all this older drivers, basically. Yeah. I think when Andretti, the grandfather, came into play, you know, then it was, you know, the rate of the age went up very, very quickly, you know. But he was not too bad actually.
So what games are you playing?
Oh, we did different things. You know, iRacing. We had this championship that we drove, and I remember that I have to tell this story because it was you know, we had done this different thing. We had driven Monte Carlo, and then we had Indy 500.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a big event. So we were practicing a lot. the night before, me and Alonso, because it went live on ESPN. Yeah, so we had the cameras around on the rig.
Yeah.
And me and Alonso, we drove from the morning, 9 o'clock, to 9 o'clock at night. Pernilla came up with coffee and food. I haven't even touched it the whole day. And it's ended up, because it was all the legends basically, And then was qualifying, and it ended up, I was first, Alonso was second, and it was 1,000 between us.
No way.
And Montoya was, I think it was third or fourth. And we knew when Montoya is in the back, it will go to shit basically. So he just smashed all of us, I think in the first left-hander. But when you can get people from all different type of sports into this group, play, have fun, big kids, I mean, it's fantastic, The competition is still there, even if it was gaming, But sitting, I got issues in my back actually after all this driving. So I needed to have the physio back home when it's gaming. It's ridiculous.
I got a sim in COVID, and I played the first day that I got it. I drove Spa for 14 hours. And then I had dinner with a friend, and I got up, drove to his house, and he's like, "How you going?" And I'm like, "Dude, I think I'm depressed." I think all of the dopamine of just like being so locked in on this game for so many hours, like it's pretty taxing on your brain.
Oh, but you can complain that it's wasting time, but when you're doing a sport, concentration and over a long time, keep your stability and stuff, it's not a bad thing,
No, I agree.
Okay, you maybe end up with a divorce and that sitting on the Saturday night gaming, I have another story for you.
Let's go.
So me and my brother, we had this Colin McRae game. This was early days.
Yeah.
We went to the mountain with a lot of friends, all the girls, and we had a big dinner, but of course we were sitting gaming, So when I went to bed, I was leading, so I was happy, no problem, I went to bed. And then I think it was 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and knocked on my door. This was like a big party night.
Yeah.
My brother knocked on the door. I taken your time, he said. And of course, I was doing something different in the bedroom that night, so it took 5 minutes, and then ended up with.
Back in the chair.
I said, Pernilla, I'm really sorry, but I have to go. I will not wake up in the morning. I will not wake up in the morning to be second. So I went straight down again and played. In the morning, in the breakfast, my brother came in and all the friends, Petter, you are lost and stuff. No, go and check the timing. You will see my name on the top, I said, so I was when we had breakfast. So, basically what I'm trying to tell everyone, you have to put everything in with your passion and never, let anybody beat you, basically, and use that cockiness. So that's why my company is called PS 110%, because everything is possible if you just put in the work and want it so much,
Yeah.
And I always done a little bit more than everyone else, but I feel I sleep well at night.
Yeah. Dude, I love it. So there's so much stuff to get into on that front. But to stick on the game for a little bit, what was the process of making that, and like how realistic was it in terms of the tracks and the notes and everything? Like, was it a very good? It wasn't a simulation in the way that iRacing is a simulation, but it was quite true to what you guys were going through.
Honestly, the graphic and stuff you can not compare
for sure
compare with
for
what
sure.
is now, but obviously, I mean, it was a very good game that time.
It was unbelievable.
If you drive it even now, it's actually really good to be so early with a game like that. And again, realistic of the tracks like you can do in Formula 1, you can copy almost everything. In rally, it's difficult because of the conditions and roads are changing every year. But still, you get this feeling about driving in different conditions, and so for us, I still think it's a good training.
Yeah.
And it's a cheap way for young kids and stuff to, if you want to do go-kart or rallying or whatever in the future, you know, it gives you some car control and feeling.
Yeah.
And of course the pace notes in the game, you know, Colin McRae's pace notes, I never understood anyway, you know, so you have to learn the tracks basically, you know. Yeah. And because everything was flat all the time in his pace notes. So different philosophy.
Yeah, yeah.
But I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, the whole sim racing world and just what people can achieve by getting really good in a sim, it's pretty incredible where some guys are at nowadays.
Yeah, because we do this Race of Champions every year, you know. We were actually in Australia last year.
Yeah.
And then every year we have invited guests who coming from the gaming and try to get them to compete with, you know, Sebastian Vettel or any of us basically. And some of them are really good. You know, it's not a reset button. You can see that sometimes that it's a problem for them because they have no feeling about what can happen or whatever. You know?
Yes.
But still, very impressive what you can do from sim racing and over to the real world, you know?
Yeah.
So you build a good base, basically. I think one of them was, you know, very close to Vettel, I remember, in Australia. You know,
really?
I was talking about maybe a 10th or something, you know, so...
And that was on Rally?
On tarmac, inside
tarmac.
the stadium in Sydney.
Yeah. Yeah, because guys get, like Jimmy Broadbent, have you ever seen any of his stuff on YouTube? I mean, I've followed him for years, and you just see the progression of, you know, the laps that he would do in Sims and the Norberg stuff and everything that he was doing, and then gets an opportunity to drive real race cars and like just watching the development. Obviously, I think the speed and like really learning how to process the speed in real life and all of the feelings that come along with that would obviously take a little bit to follow. But in terms of the lines and the skill and the racecraft, I mean, it's all there.
You know, it goes mental when you get this stuff. You know, my rig is maybe 50,000-60,000 euro because we had this Solberg World Cup, you know, under COVID. You know, all the gaming exploded basically.
Yeah.
And of course, I want the best all the time, you know. And Oliver have his rig also, but it's much cheaper, much lower level. I need the best. You know, you need to have a little bit advantage over your kid, basically, you know. And so I got in this, you know, from my World Championship winning car. I took all the upright brakes system connected to the game, so the brake feel is everything the same. With the caliper, water cooled. I mean, it's really, you know, I got it like a real car basically. Yeah. Then we have this Solberg World Cup, and we have all this equipment. You know, I think we were 1,800 people signed up for this competition basically. You know, and okay, Oliver was maybe top 3 in the world on the times. I was around 20 or something. And the guy who won the Solberg World Cup, he was sitting in the kitchen with, you know, you have this steering wheel. You remember you connect to the...
You just put it straight
put it on the table.
Yeah.
He was sitting on the kitchen seat with this and just beaten all of us.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, we got shocked, you know. So one of the prizes was to win a full rig and stuff, you know. And of course, you know, it was so embarrassing. I was thinking, you know, I was, you know,
and
bragging about my look at
kit.
This seat and pedals and the proper engine, you know, steering wheel, same as Volkswagen, same as Verstappen, you know, the best you can get. And this kid was sitting in the kitchen table with this that we had, you know, like, so impressive. So it's not all about equipment, you know, it's all about how you use it basically. So we were very impressed, but now after winning the Solberg World Cup, he got the proper...
Have you seen any photos of him now with the new rig?
Yeah, he sent all the photos and everything to us.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, I must say that's... why do you need all this stuff?
Well, that's kind of the unfortunate thing about car racing, right? Is that so much of racing cars is about your equipment, and it's all the way from karting to the whole way through the development. You really do need to be in a good car, and you really do need to have some support. But I mean, that's one of the greatest things about the sim racing world, is that it's so much about driver skill than the equipment.
It's absolutely true, So he also won a prize with me and Oliver in America for a drive day to learn how to drive a proper car. So it was proper prizes and stuff, and we got him, really good actually. It was a little bit scary to see, and it's good fun when you see humble people like that, coming and just killing us basically.
Well, so we had Nick Hamilton on the podcast the other day, and he was saying that he got into racing through the sim. So his dad put him in a kart when he was, I can't remember how old he was, but he crashed the kart straight away. So then his dad was like, yep, all right, all good, we're not doing that again. Scared the shit out of him. So then he started doing a lot of gaming on the sim, and because he wasn't using pedals, he was steering and braking and accelerating on everything was on the wheel. Yeah. And very similar story to where he basically, like, Lewis couldn't beat him with the hand controls.
No, it's crazy, all this stuff. Oliver is also the same, as Nick is doing. He can do this with the just the buttons. But I think when you're younger, it's no problem. You can handle everything, But when I started, it's no chance to not have the real stuff, But it's good for coordination. And for example, he have done actually impressive with his driving also this year, by winning. And I think his passion for what he's doing, even with the his difficulties, is very impressive.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we were saying the other day, like, just to have everything stacked against you. Like, you're born with a disability. Yeah. Your brother's the best racer of all time. Like, just for him to do what he's done, in spite of all of the difficulties, and then just like having, walking in the biggest shadow that you could possibly walk in, and he's just the coolest guy. It's pretty cool.
I think it looks like the family, they are very close, and I think that's, respectful to keep that, well, it's the same with me and my brother, It's of course, I was the younger brother and got the success, and he was also a good driver, but didn't get the possibility. So it's tough. It's tough for if you have brothers or sisters that you compete with. That it's not everybody who got the possibility. So. But I think he's handled it really well and used his possibilities the best he can, and show his love for what he's doing. And I think that's the main thing, basically,
100%. Yeah. So it's interesting what you said about your brother. You're the younger brother. Older brother didn't reach the same level of success. And I feel like you see that a lot with the younger brother. But I guess, there's a case for both. But, if you look at the Lawrence brothers in motocross and supercross, like the younger brother, you're the younger brother. Like, there's so many examples of the younger brother is able to come through and succeed. And is so much of that because your older brother, you always had someone better than you to chase? And exactly. Is that the classic story?
That's a classic.
My brother's better than me, and he's the younger brother too, so I can relate.
No, because the first thing you do when you're doing things is to beat your brother.
Yeah.
Then when you're beating your brother, well, that's it. Then you go to the next step, And for sure, me and my brother are very different, but he is still fantastic driver, so he could have had the possibilities, But I think it's like you say, they lead the way, and then the younger brother have a little bit easier opportunities because you can fight with him, My brother is 2 years older, so yeah. But it was not easy all the time, just to let you know that when the younger brother is coming up and getting the success, jealousy and it's not easy.
I'm sure.
Not easy.
I'm sure it's extremely difficult to navigate.
Very. I think everybody have their stories, with their families, sure. and it is like it is.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you and your brother didn't come from a racing family. There wasn't much rally in the family.
No rally. We lived on a farm. My father drove a truck every day. My mother worked on the farm. We had 500 pigs, cows, and the fields, you know. So we were doing a lot of shit jobs, basically, you know, as a family to survive.
Yeah.
But my parents started to drive autocross, you know. It's this cheap cars, you know.
Yeah.
400 or 500 euros, but it's like one of the biggest motorsports in Norway and Sweden, basically. You know, it can be up to 300 cars in a weekend. My mother is a Norwegian champion there, you know, and my father won, I mean, everything.
Really?
But we build the cars.
Yeah, right.
So in '82, when we came with our parents to this autocross race, they never came in the final, you know. So me and my brother, we got so pissed off, you know. What's the point to do this, you know? And my father was not so good mechanic either, so the car stopped all the time. And so me and my brother, okay, that's it. So when we were 10 years old, I was 10 years old, we started to build all the cars, all the engines, and they started to win everything. Because we were so fed up to not even come in the final, you know. And then, but it's like a family sport, you know. It's keeping everybody close together, you know what the kids are doing. And so we didn't do so much football and stuff like that. It was only cars. So since '82 and for 10 years, we did, you know, they did maybe over 20, 25 races in the summertime. And over this period, we before we were 18, we built 100 engines and 50 chassis, basically. Because these cars get sold. You know, you can put in a bid and you have a draw. So that's actually our story. It was actually mechanic, building cars and engines. Maybe
For
hard
your
to believe when
parents.
you're 10, but we never learned, you know, self-learned everything.
So what's that process like? How do you self-learn at 10 years old to rebuild a car engine?
You just have to start.
You just pull it apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to get it together. But, you know, we did a lot with the engines also ourselves. And you get experience, you build up and stuff like that. And we never broke engine. And so that sometimes we didn't even go to school to prepare, because we went to prepare the cars. Because we had like a small garage in the pig house. And we turned off the light and we worked there. So our parents didn't actually know either that we didn't go to school, basically, you know. So, but it was tough times for our parents. You know, it's, you know, everything looks glamour now with stuff, but I mean, our parents' generation, you know, it was some tough times, you know, and farming, like you see on Clarkson Farm now in England and stuff, is very impressive. This is the reality, you know. But they worked hard to let us enjoy what they did, basically, you know. And we got so much out of it. And without that, I don't know if my success would have been what we have had, basically.
What it was,
yeah, definitely. Because when you're coming from a small country in Norway, getting into the World Championship, you know, 5 million people, it's not enough to be good. You have to be very good, because it's marketing and stuff like that. So you have to go all in, and you see everything is possible.
Yeah.
If you put your heart and life into it.
Yeah. So what do you remember from growing up on the farm?
Whew. I mean, we did a lot of the farming with the pigs and shoveling shit, basically. You know? Yeah. But was part of life. We were driving on the fields, you know, with Beetles and having fun and enjoy, but didn't speak English. You know, we thought this was the best, you know, you could ever do. And then I think this learning thing, to have the respect for what your parents have been through and how difficult it is to actually survive through, you know, each month, having double job, do the farming. And I think this respect that we get from that is that nothing is easy. So you have to put in the work and help each other. And And my father almost, when I was 18, he almost lost his farm because when he had a bad year for growing the seeds and fields, I need to borrow money in the bank to pay off, to help the parents to take care of the farm. So I mean, for us get help from the son as a father, you know, I mean I don't know if I would have liked it either, you know, but that was the only possibility to do it, you know. So when we had new shoes, we had them for a long time. But we took them down to the workshop, washed them, and painted it because white shoes was Mephisto that time. I remember this was, you need to have that. So we painted the shoes to have them for the second year and stuff. I mean, it's mad, you know, now these days, you know, you're buying 15 shoes a year, you know. So, I mean, life have changed dramatically in general, I think, for everyone, you know.
For sure, yeah.
So I think have respect for, you know, what you have been through and your parents and different generations. I think it's very important to have as a reminder many times, you know.
For sure. What age do you remember realizing that it was difficult for your parents?
I think when I was 12 and 18, that was maybe, you know, tough times. You need to put in all the effort for them to do the work at the daytime and you do on the farm, you know. So when we went to school, we were smelling pig and we work on the car, we were dirty all the time, you know. And a teacher I remember very well, Petter, you know, you have to focus more on school because you will not be anything in the world, you know. And I remember when I was world champion, there was 10,000 people meeting up on my farm, or my family farm. And the teacher came over and said, Petter, I was wrong, you know. I was very wrong. So it's, I love these great stories, you know. It's and still today, you know, I'm still the only world champion in Norway or in the biggest class in rallying, you know. So, I mean, it's not easy.
No,
so,
definitely.
Yeah.
It is definitely interesting though when you do see your parents struggling, because there's an age where you don't. There's an age where you just think it's normal and you don't have context based on, you know, by comparing against other people. But yeah, I think it is a bit of a weird thing to go through as a kid, to realize like, oh, this is actually super hard for my parents, and other people maybe aren't struggling in the way that they are.
No, I think, you know, when I remember coming down in the house in the morning and I see your father crying at the kitchen table. I mean, that's I still remember it's maybe one of the hardest thing I ever seen, you know. And that's because I was working that time, you know, had maybe 13,000 pounds a year, you know. And then I went to the bank to borrow money to do it, you know, to help the best you can, but tough. And I'm not the only one, you know. I'm sure, you know, many people have been through a lot, you know, like situations in life, you know. But it's all about supporting each other and helping the best you can.
And it makes the times great when they're great, when you do rise above. And, you know, at one point I believe you were the highest paid WRC driver. So it's like to go from there to there is just such a meaningful change of life, you know, and so it changes generations.
Yeah. And my father, no debt now, living free in the house, you know, fixed everything so they can have a good life. They're driving in the motorhome, you know, they're 74, 75 now. Coming to the rallies now, Estonia and Finland with the motorhome with the follow Oliver. And it's great to see when this happiness, you know, they look younger than ever, basically, you know, in that way. So, and I think also the same with the Hamilton family, you know, they work very hard in the same way, you know, they have been very good. So, I mean, everything is possible.
Yeah.
You have to stick together, work your ass off in every way, and just believe in the process of what you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
Because we never had a plan with everything. You did it, and then people say, oh, bloody hell, you are fucking fast, you know. Okay, am I? Yeah. But my dream was to be a mechanic, and then you continue driving, and then just shit happens, huh?
So when do you go from wrenching on your parents' autocross cars to figuring out that you can actually steer yourself? But you would have been driving your whole life on the farm.
Yeah, since we were 6 years old on the fields, you know, so in old shit weather you can think of, in the mud and gravel roads in the forest. And the police, I remember, police came up, I think we were around 8 years old, 10 years old, and the neighbor had been complaining to our parents, you know, because we were driving so much and the noise. And the police came up to the farm and said, guys, you have to stop this, you know. You're 8 years old, you're not allowed to drive. And I still remember today that, because I met the police few weeks ago. Who was the police that time?
Same guy.
Same guy.
No way.
And he told me that what I told him is that we are not doing anything wrong. You know, we are living on the farm, on the fields. You know, go down to the town to take the people who is actually doing something properly wrong. And he told me that I told him that time. You know, so I mean, it's it's true though. You have to focus on the most important thing. You know, not this. You know, small details that we are playing on the farm, you know.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So you start driving on the farm. When do you realize that you actually can drive quite well?
Well, I thought that was the best when I was 6 years old, you know. You know, you always think like that, you know, but you compete with your brother and you know, you drive, don't think so much, you know, you just do the job. And of course I had the ADHD, you know, so I never saw any problems with anything, and so it was just flat out, basically, you know.
That's so good. So you guys were setting up little rally courses at home, or?
Yeah, it made itself when you're driving on the field. So you choose the corners and how you want, basically, you know. And mainly was Beetles cars that we drove that we specialist on. Boxer engines, basically.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so would you guys build your own little Beetles you would be, I guess, like developing your own rally cars as you were going along?
Basically, you know. Yeah. It was cheap cars because, you know, they couldn't put in any money into the car. So the only thing you have to do the performance of is what we did with our hands, or engines and porting and
so you're porting your own engines?
We did everything.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. And where are you learning how to do this shit?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's the same with many other people. You just start, if you have passion for something, you know, it's just happening, you know.
Yeah.
I never went to any school to build engines or anything, you know. It's just, sounds like a good idea, you know.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. So when was your first race? When did you guys start actually racing?
So I took my license on a Friday, 17th of November. And my birthday is 18th of November. So I told, because we were building engines for the guy that I took my license for, you know. So I have paid for my license. First of all, my parents said, you know, if you don't smoke or drink before you're 18, we will pay for your driving license.
Fair deal.
I never smoked in my life. Okay, we had some parties, so we didn't keep the deal, but they didn't have the money to do it anyway, so they were cheating us, basically. And but this guy that I took my license with, you know, built an engine, so I paid for my driving license already. But I needed the license to drive on Saturday. So I got my license
the day before.
So I did my race on my 18th birthday. I got second. Oh, bloody hell, you know, pretty good. And then I did my second race and I won it. And then the rest is story after that, basically, you know. So
what is the story after that? So this is just 2 local Norwegian autocross races?
Exactly.
Just in a car that you built?
Yeah. And then I started with Rallycross and hill climb.
Yep.
Who was more expensive, but we built the cars ourselves there, borrowed money in the bank to do it. I remember my first car was 6,000 euro. And
sorry. Motion sensor? Yeah, there's a motion sensor for the lights. There we go.
So
for 6,000 euros?
Yeah. So I went to the bank, dressed up with a suit and everything to borrow money. And
what did you tell them it was for a car?
Yeah. So that was for the first car, 6,000 euro. Then I went up to the next class after that, because I was best in that class. Then I went to the bigger class, and that car was maybe 25,000 euro.
What kind of car was it?
That was a Volvo 240. I still have that car in the museum. We built it ourselves in 91. My brother used it first, and then I took it over, and I won everything with that car.
Really?
Everything. So 19 out of 20 races in the year. He was like the hardest class in Norway, basically, and Sweden. And then I went over to Sweden because no Norwegian had beaten the Swedish guys. And I was the first one to come over and beat everyone there. And then I went, in 96, I got offered to do Renault Spider Cup. He was the circuit racing before the Formula 1 races.
Yeah.
I got offered to do there. I went to a test, was second fastest, everything paid for and everything. Then I got a chance to drive the Rallycross with Martin Skanke with a Ford RS 200.
Yeah.
He was already a European champion and stuff, so that was a big thing. And then I was thinking, I have to try rally also, I'm good in Rallycross hill climb. And then I flew up to Sweden, 900 Ks, back again. That I bought this Volvo 240 original, drove it on the rally cars on the way back, with 5 spare rally tires in the car. I exploded 5 tires on the way because they are rally tires, so they're 900 Ks. So 5 punctures. Came back to the farm on the Friday, did my first race on Saturday, came second. I loved it, Instead of, going circuit racing, like in front of the Formula 1 races that time, that I had the possibility for, or the biggest class in the European Championship in Rallycross with 1,000 horsepower Ford RS 200. I went rallying with the Volvo original and I was sold. That was crazy. So then I borrowed my brother's rally car, a Toyota Celica 165, and I crashed it massively. I was in front of him, who was the main goal first of all, in the Norwegian Championship. Completely destroyed it. And then, of course, I have to get the money to, first of all, pay for the car, but I needed a new car. So I sold my Volvo, went to the bank, I need to borrow 60, 70,000 euro, 100,000 euro. And of course, that with the salary of 15,000 euro, it was not easy. So I came in there, suited up again, And I said, I need to borrow this money now because I crashed and if we're going to continue, I have to borrow money. And he said, Petter, impossible. With your salary and stuff, no chance. So I went out to the bank, needed, some of my uncles and stuff to help me to guarantee for the money. But of course, everything can happen with the car, so you can be finished. So I came back again with some signed papers and stuff, and I said, listen, I'm going to be the best, so you have to help me now. So I came out from the bank with the money, free interest, and the sponsorship, I think was 2,000 euro that time. Came in, started rallying, and got Norwegian champion, and then I did one race that year in Lebanon, sponsored by Marlboro, to do the race. First time on tarmac, and I was the fastest. And I drove against the president of FIA, Mohammed bin Sulayem, who's the president now.
Yeah.
So me and he was competing together, and then I had a puncture, so I came second. And after that, then it happened. I drove for Ford and got teammate with Carlos Sainz and Colin McRae in 99. I don't know if you remember, but we had a Ford Focus with full Martini cars, you know.
Yeah.
So after the races and stuff, we parked the cars in front of the discotheque. Martini clothing, tie, you know, look fucking mint, basically, you know. And then we got the Martini credit card to pay drinks for people. So I, you know.
You're quite generous.
Yeah. With Martini's credit card, yeah.
Yeah.
But Colin McRae, he didn't pay for anybody. He took the drinks himself all the time, you know. So it's, yeah. So and then it's just continuing with Subaru after that, Citroen, Ford. Again, and
what a crazy story.
Yeah, ending up 3-time world champion, and yeah, so I mean it's fantastic. You know, I have a lot of offer now also to do different things in Dakar or whatever, but I found you know in 2018 when I found the sickness, you know, with my lungs.
Yeah,
that's when I stopped, and when Oliver also started, you know. So that was a tough time. So then you stop. But the last race I did was in England. Monster came there with the tent, the buses and everything, you know, big event. And I ended up winning my last race. You know, so I mean, why should you stop, basically, you know?
Yeah.
But you find your time, and Oliver now has an incredible story and future, and so now I'm going around every country, promote, take care of people, Monster, and just follow his career, basically, you know. I do some show and different things. We're going again to Goodwood this year, and so yeah. So we do a lot of different things all around the world.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Brunt Workwear, and I have got the brand new Marin boot here to show you guys right now. Over the last couple of years, I just wanted to get rid of doing the sneaker thing. They're not waterproof. They got super dirty, and I would end up with track shoes. I wanted to be able to rock some boots. It just made a lot more sense to wear boots. So I've switched to wearing boots, and now I've switched to wearing these Brunt boots. There's a super short break-in period, and they're lightweight, they're waterproof, they're slip and oil resistant, they're heat resistant, and they're electrical hazard rated. A lot of you guys that listen to this podcast, you're on job sites, you run a machinery, and you actually really need and test all of these features every single day. So now you can finally have durable work boots that are as comfortable out of the box as your sneakers, and over 500,000 customers agree. Brunt didn't just make a durable work boot, they've reinvented comfort for the hardest workers out there. For a limited time only, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt by using the code GYPSYGANG at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com and use the code GYPSYGANG and you are all set. And even better, Brunt will let you try this work boot risk-free on the job site. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. So please support our show by telling them that the Gypsy Gang sent you. So what work were you doing that was giving you a £15,000 salary?
I was a painter, tailor, carpenter. Yeah, I had good bosses.
Yeah, okay.
So they sponsored me a little bit, and I could take the free time I wanted. So when I want time off, they also took time off to help me to do the job beside.
No way.
So, yeah. So, but I was in the phone all the time, you know. So the company gave me a phone, but when they got the bill, they said, Petter, you can keep your phone, but you have to pay your phone bill yourself, because we were working on sponsors all the time and trying to get the budget going, you know. And then I remember that I think when I was 19, I still have the folder back home, but I use all my money to make a sponsor folder
Yeah.
with a visit card, text, proper quality. I used all my money into that, and that was a good investment basically, you know, because it looks quality, you get sponsors and stuff like that. But that was a lot of work, and I think that beside being a good mechanic, understand marketing and sponsors.
Yeah.
Because you don't get anything from your parents or support or help with money, you had no choice, you know. So I had no guidance. It just followed what I believed in and thought. So I have a one sponsor story. It was batteries in Norway. And this was with the Volvo 240 I drove then. And I called into this big battery company and I said, hello, I'm Petter Solberg, you know, because I talked to the secretary and I want to talk to the marketing director. Yeah, hold on. So I called. Hi, it's Petter Solberg. Yeah, I don't know who you are. No, that's okay, you know, but I want a meeting. Yeah, but we don't sponsor, you don't sponsor Petter, you know, I'm really sorry. And I was painting at the time, you know, so I stood in the phone and okay. So I went for 10 minutes more, did painting. Fuck. I can't just say, get no, you know, this is ridiculous. So I called up the secretary again, you know, hi, it's Petter Solberg again, you know. Let me talk to your marketing director again, you know. So I called up, hi, it's Petter again. Oh, hello, but I told you, you know, we don't want to sponsor you, but listen, just let me just meet with you, you know. You can tell me no problem at all, you know. But let me come in and just say hello. And so I came in. Okay, he said, came in. And after the meeting, I came out with batteries for €2,500. So I filled up my car with batteries and I went around to different farms and people and sold all the batteries. So I ended up with €5,000 basically, you know.
That's so good.
Yeah. So it was not all about the money. It's getting things that you can sell to get in the money. And when I got some small local sponsors, basically, you know, most of the time I didn't want any money from them because I want to send them the bill instead for 4 tires or fuel, or because I didn't have a company. So when I asked for €1,500, for example, you know, I get €1,500 plus tax.
Yeah.
You know, I don't.
Yeah.
So I got actually 26% more out of it that they pay the bill instead of me getting the money and they buy the stuff. So yeah, so I done a lot of lot of tricksing, you know, or getting things to.
But that's because of necessity. Like you didn't have any other choice.
I don't know that word, but
because you had to do it. It's not like you wanted to do this. You had to do it. There was no other option. You had to find every single creative way that you could to make your racing work.
Yeah, because I didn't have any people to help me. So you just have to think yourself, basically, you know. And if you want to do this, and this is what I see with a lot of young people now, they need the management early and you need the control and setup. But sometimes just get into it. If you love it a lot, you know, everything is possible, you know. I'm not saying things are easy, you know, even if you do that, but you have to try. Find every angle you can get, you know. And
and I think, I mean, with Ollie, right? So you weren't born into a family that had wealth and had opportunity, created all of these opportunities for yourself. And then you've got a son that was born into a like WRC royalty that has all of the opportunities. So I'm sure that that's quite a hard balance because you would have known all of the things that made it so difficult for you in your young career. But they're also some of the things that's made you a world champion, a successful businessman after racing. Like there's so many things that these hard times taught you. So it's like, how do you balance that with Ollie?
Well, this is the thing also, you know. Next generation is always difficult. Look at Mick Schumacher, or you can take many people. The thing is that it's still up to the parents to keep the values all the time, you know. And when we lived in Monaco for 10 years, we moved back to the farm because Oliver got young or older. So we're thinking, well, this can't be good for him, you know.
To grow up in Monaco.
No, because what are you going to do? You know, he played tennis, he did ballet, you know, he did football. So when we moved back to farm again, the values got different. And when he started, you know, like cross kart, the Pernilla's father brought him into this, and he got hooked without us coming involved at all. And then from that day, we told him in an early age that the only thing, if you're going to do this, you have to understand that we can go keep the car or the cross kart or whatever, but the running budget, you have to find yourself. Because the cross kart or the car you can sell again, so that's okay. But the running budget, you will have a short career if you don't understand how this works, that you have to work with sponsors and call around and try to get the budget together. So he started to work with this when he was 12. He called Apple. He called these issues, and he got to deal with these issues. And he got free clothing, he got the free tool cabinet, you know, a little bit of this. So the cross kart that time was full of sponsors. But many of this who was with him in early age, they came with him all the way. So it's increasing by getting a toolbox and different things, clothing, and then you're ending up getting money, and you know, so the following a little bit trip. So I must say that Oliver have been very, very good at respecting that side and understand that marketing, promotion, work on this all the time is as important as driving, you know. So I think me and Pernilla, we are a little bit old-fashioned, to be honest with you, but if you keep these values and get the kids to understand that the lifestyle I ended up with, living in Monaco, having a private plane and stuff, this is not good for you, you know? You have to understand that if you want this, it's hard work. You have to push the limit, and you have to, you know, understand that the biggest problem you will get, you know, of my hard times, for example, is jealousy. People are talking shit about you. People will destroy for you since you are the second generation. So you have to be very, very hard mentally to really understand that, you know, people will try to fuck you over, basically. Sorry language, but...
No, we say fuck on this podcast, it's fine.
So it's... And he have been through a lot of shit. You have no idea. He have, you know, mental down for 6 months, you know, and coming back again after that. And now the opportunities and the teams who want him, it's everyone. So, but it could have been hit the other way if you couldn't tackle it mentally. Yeah. But he is quite hard kid for that point of view. So luckily it's been good, but different ways basically. And now with the social media,
so much different.
We are. It's good. It's good for people. You know, social media, a lot of followers and people activation and stuff like that. But when things goes to shit, and you have the people sitting in the sofa and writing shit, I mean, I told him, you know, don't read everything, you know, because people are supporting other drivers and stuff. It's the same for everyone, but social media is not only a good thing, to be honest with you, especially when you're a young age and people are commenting, you know, like grown up people and writing really shit about you, you know. So
what was the worst that you had to deal with on that front in your generation? Because you were, I mean, not fully retired, but at least a lot of the WRC stuff was behind you when the whole social media thing really came into play.
To be honest with you, I haven't had any really big problems with that. It's normally the next generation who's getting shit, you know, because I'm coming from a humble background, you know, so people, you know, it's different. Yeah. Even when I had my private airline, with 5 planes and stuff. I was flying around, and even in the Norwegian press, I didn't get any shit. They understand that to keep up, for 280 days a year, you do that to be more back home with your family.
Yeah.
When I moved to Monaco, even that I got away with in some way. I understand Petter and stuff. So honestly, I have been.
You were just a national treasure.
Yeah, I've been lucky.
Yeah.
Because if this was full social media stuff, of course you would have got all the shit basically,
Yeah.
But I must say I've been good on that side, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but Ollie hasn't got away from it.
No chance.
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
So, but so I think the hardest thing for younger drivers coming up now, because when things go well, everybody is happy with you, things, and then when it's tough times, what did we say? It's not so easy. You're not as good as your father, and blah blah blah. He's better than me, that's for sure. But he's very young to be in rallying and be fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is quite brutal. I'm really good friends with the Deegan family. You'd know Mick from Monaco.
I know Mick very well.
Yeah. Mick
and his son. I did.
Yeah, Jack.
Me and Jack. So 2 years ago, I did a Formula 1 test with him.
Oh.
With Renault.
Yeah.
So we did a rally car and we did the Formula 1 car. We had a competition and timing and stuff. Ask him about that.
I will.
Yeah.
He's a great kid, eh?
Yeah. Really,
Such a
he's
good
almost
kid.
too nice.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
to be in this world, I think.
Well, he's got a bit of dog in him. You play that kid in cards.
Yeah.
And you'll see a very wildly competitive. Like it makes sense. He puts on a very nice front, but you can get him extremely wound up.
Ask him how it went with the competition with me.
I will. Yeah, we'll send him a photo. But I mean, he's one kid that copped a lot of shit. I mean, his Formula One, the debut, and then like the problems that he had to come back from, and then gets dropped, and like, man, fuck.
This is what I'm saying. That Oliver have been through the same thing, and you need good people around you, And Mick is a cool guy, He's
the best.
He's fantastic, Really good fun with him. He's a good party man.
He really is. So, did you, after everything that you've been through in your career, did you think that Ollie would go into racing? Was it ever anything that you, like, did you want it for him? Did you not want it for him?
No, that's why we took him to tennis and football and ice hockey. And I think things just have to happen yourself what you want, So that's why I didn't follow him on the races either, when he started this cross kart, because that was Pernilla's father. So I was not involved. I was traveling, so I had no choice I didn't have any possibilities anyway. So when you do things, it has to come from yourself. But when he get in there and he was so passionate about it, I told him, it's hard work. It's a brutal world. So if you want to be, coming after, you have to put in everything, and you have to put in even more than I did, because next generation is not enough to be good. You need to be very good. So, and it's no humbleness from people compared with what I had. So, and then it's up to the kid to choose, how much you want it. But when you do it, you have to put in 110%. That's it. And you have done that. So
it must have been scary for you though, to watch him want to go into to this world, because I mean, apart from just the danger and the risk, as there's that you've got to step away and just let him drive the car extremely fast. But I mean, yeah, just scary because you've lived this life and you know what he's signing up for, and you know how much harder it's going to be for him as the second generation. Like that, it must have been quite difficult to let him go all in like that.
Yeah, for sure. And That's why I think the parents again really have to talk about these things, that it is shit, you know. And then you have other people, the rest of the world, who are trying to get your seat also at the same time. So, but when you were Oliver, you know, like around 15 years old, he had his own TV series in Norway. And then he was 16, he had his own cinema film, you know. So the TV series was Team Solberg, following in, that was later, Team Solberg, but he had the cinema when he was 15. It was actually sent in Goodwood in front of the public people 1 year. So all this other attention, who actually brought in money for him to actually do the sport, it was a lot of pressure. All the TV cameras following like a 15-year-old, big cinema in Norway, every cinema, you know. We brought the cars and into Sweden. And so, I mean, he's used to a little bit of this PR marketing thing, but he can that part can also destroy you, you know. But to have your own cinema, Born to Drive, when you are 15, I mean,
a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
But then he won the championship also that time with my ex-Rallycross World Championship winning car also. And so it worked out well, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it is such a cool story, and he's just got his first WRC win. So it's like, you know, he's just crazy to see the plan work, you know. Or not even a plan, I guess.
It's not even a plan or strategy like many do, you know, because it's so much yourself, you know, how you want to do it, you know. And I remember also when the day he was 16, he did a race with the Rallycross car.
Yeah.
Monster brought up girls from London, you know, sweet 16 party, and then he won the race, and the girls on the podium, and I mean, it was incredible, because he couldn't wear Monster or anything because of his age, but they have been helping him a big part of this ride or adventure, basically, you know.
Didn't he have a rally where his co-driver had to drive all the road stages because he didn't
in America?
Was that in America?
Now this is another story. You know? Yeah, we were doing the World Championship in Texas.
Yeah.
And then the Subaru was there. I think it was with Travis or
or Brandon Semenak, maybe.
No, because this was in Rallycross.
Rallycross.
And then Oliver at, I think it was 16 or 17, he went over to the team and but he got a visit card, you know, from the guy there, and then he had talked to them, and he wants to drive for the guys in America with the Subaru. So he came back to the tent. We were doing the Rallycross, and Sunday, you know, we have to go to America very soon. America? Yeah, our organizer are going to do a test with the Subaru. And but what's happening? Oh no, I fixed everything, you know, so it's no problem, you know. So we have to organize the trip over to America, did the test, and of course he was not old enough to drive. And that's when we got the co-driver with him, Denis Giraudet, very famous co-driver. And then on the road section, you know, did the stages. I think it was 17 that time. And the co-driver have to drive between the stages, and they changed, and he drove on the stage, basically, you know. And he ended up winning rallies, and it was... But that's when he did everything himself, you know. We were just shocked, you know, what have you done, you know, and... Yeah. So I think this passion...
Yeah.
By finding solution yourself for what you want, you know, it's the main thing, you know.
Yeah. So how has it been for you how would you say, are you hands off with the career? Like, obviously he's done so much of it himself, and that was the prerequisite for you guys, was like, no, if you want to do this, it has to come from you. Like, how do you know when to step in, when not to say, like, is it hard for you?
Well, I've been involved the whole time. I've been there. Otherwise, if you ask me, of course, when you are a driver with a lot of experience, I can look at the car from outside and I can see what he can miss in the car. It's a very strange thing, but when you have been looking at cars on the track since you were 10 years old, you can see the handling of the car, you can see if you're lacking traction, if it's comfortable, if it's kicking up a wheel, you have to adjust the suspension. So this discussion from what I see from outside, you try to get some feedback what he feels, and if that fits with what I see also, you can move forward very quickly. So he have tested and tried a lot of things since he was 8 years old by not knowing it. And when you try things and get the feeling, you have it in your body, what you like and you don't like. If it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter, as long as you feel good and you can drive fast. So he is very good driver to set up the car for what he needs. Like we saw last year, Estonia, the first WRC victory, he was promised 7 days testing before, and they just called him up, you have to do a Rally Estonia, because, okay, so he got 1.5 day, do whatever you want with the car. Okay, fantastic. So they tested. Not everybody was agree about the direction he went, but some people said that he was also right what he did, So Toyota is a big team. And then ending up winning the whole rally, I think Oliver won. Then you have the two Hyundais. And then the next Toyota was Calero and Pera. He was 1 minute behind. I mean, it was an insane thing. But think how much you have had inside mentally, or wanted it so much, not to just be a part of it, but actually he was dominating. And that is because you never know what the kid is thinking,
Yeah.
You can talk to somebody, but you never get
the full perspective. Yeah.
And I was shocked. And then Monte Carlo this year also, I mean, it's mad. I've done Monte Carlo Rally many years, yeah. So in one race, he won more stages than I ever done in Monte Carlo for all the years in one race. I mean, but okay, it's been some tough times also after, with some crashes and small mistakes, but big consequence. But so how you handle that again, but he's still laying third in the World Championship, so it's still good. But the speed is like enormous, Even every driver said that nobody's faster than Oliver, so it's coming from the team and other drivers. So, but you still have to finish the rallies. But mistakes happen, It's
for sure.
You're young, so
yeah. It must be like just listening to you talk about it, and like just seeing the way that you are talking about your son. What a crazy thing that you have this incredible career of your own. Like, just blew past any expectations of what your life could have potentially been, right?
It's true.
Like, you were a fucking pig farmer.
Yeah.
And then you end up being one of the biggest stars in the sport, one of the highest paid stars in the sport. And then you get to watch your son be just a little freak and start winning as well. Like, the perspective to race the World Championship from inside the car and see everything from that view, to now see your son, who is still you, he's a part of you, to see this journey. Like, you've got a wild perspective on rally that not many people have.
No, I have tried everything, and I know how difficult it is. So, but to see it with your son, for sure, it's very special. I go to every race to follow, so I try to be dedicated father like I wasn't when he was young, because I was never at home. So I try to use my guiltiness now to follow and be there when it's going well and when it's some problems. And I think this support is, like I remember with my parents, they couldn't do much, but to just know that they are there, it gives you just some part of comfort, basically,
Mm-hmm.
And now we got a girlfriend, so
Yeah, you're fucked.
I'm not. I'm not this playmate. We're not playing anymore. He's playing with her, so it's not the same.
It's a very difficult thing for some parents to navigate. What you said, right? So I think that what you said is right. Like, you've got a unique ability to look at the car, and you've raced these rallies before, and like, you have such a complex understanding of the sport. But sometimes that's not what a kid needs, right?
No.
Sometimes a kid just needs to know that their dad's there to be their dad when they need a dad. They don't need ex-world champion Peter Solberg to be there for them. They just need dad. So that is a balance. And I mean, we're so ingrained in like the motocross, supercross world, right? And there's a lot of parents in that never even did what you did. But
I heard a lot of stories from motocross. There's a lot of crazy parents there.
It's crazy. Yeah. And they're so forward-facing and talking with the teams and bikes and like, they've never fucking won a race in their life, you know? So that balance of just being the parent and not trying to do too much, I mean, that's a hard thing. Not many parents get it right.
No, I agree with you. And we were warned about it beforehand, but we have been in the background, okay? You have to help sometimes in the guidance of things when people are trying to destroy for you. And so you need to be there to support when it's some shit hit the fan, basically, you know. And I see also, compared with Deegan, it's I think, similar level of craziness as a family to stick together and do what you believe in, And I think also, I did actually a rallycross race with Deegan for many years ago, in Finland.
He's a good driver, eh?
Yeah, he's very good. And I like this family feeling they have. They're also sticking together, and okay, they are getting a lot of shit also from many things, but they are playing on that also at the same time.
For sure.
Yeah. That's maybe where we are a little bit different in that point of view, but I think motocross and the Ignia is very strong, and the father is a hard guy also. So
yeah,
and I think the success that they will will have in the new class, it will be good. I follow that also.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I like the motocross. It's good fun.
Yeah. This season's just been incredible as well.
Yeah, it's a hard competition when it's coming up from 250 to 450. So
yeah.
And that for me, just to jump off a little bit, is very impressive because, they are quite hard, strong, confident. But when they come into 450, I've been like a humble kid. I mean, what happened? He's turned around completely. But I like to see that side also,
Yeah.
Believe that it will take a little bit of time. Mistakes will happen, it's different competition. But they work hard, definitely.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I mean, I think, Brian's, I guess everybody has their moments, but I think that Brian's a pretty good example of like, because you do have to make sure that your kid's doing the right thing. And especially in motocross, like, you just can give your kid to a team. Maybe it's a bit different in rally. Maybe it's a bit more like individual, but you go to like a Star Racing and, you can be a 16-year-old kid, you got to move to Tallahassee, you got to get an apartment, then you just go there. It's like going to a job, basically. They start at 8, they're there till 5. You just get told exactly what to do. And I think that they're a family that's like, okay, we'll do that, but we'll also do all of these other things that we think we need to do, the extra sort of stuff. But there's definitely a balance there of like when to just trust the experts and when to let the team do their thing, and then when to be like, no, we need to do some extra.
Yeah, I agree with you, because you have to respect the team. It's very important. Like Oliver is in Toyota now. See, 300 people, employees there.
Wow.
110 people on the races. You have 5 cars. You're a teammate with Ogier, who's a hard French rally driver, And he was a young kid when I was driving,
Yeah, right.
And of course, when you're coming in and having the speed that Oliver have, he gets some not tension in the team because the team are really good. But we, as parents, we will not go in and touch the team or do anything. The team take care of him. They are very professional. But Toyota, we trust them properly. How they work and it's very nice to see because the team is so smooth how they operate, very organized. And Oliver do a mistake, they sit down and talk about it, analyze and stuff like that. I remember when I had a crash in '99, the only guy who supported me was Colin McRae,
Really?
And I can tell you, I've been crying. I got so much bullock in that time.
No way.
And I was crying. I was almost sent back home from a race. Oh, you have no idea,
Different times.
So that pressure with driving fast at the same time, Toyota, for example, have the very opposite of how they work that I like.
Yeah.
But when, for example, Oliver do a mistake, I think back to my time, so I'm, quite stressful about it. So, but they're different mentality. I come to Kenya. Yeah, I will tell you this story.
Yeah, tell me about this crash.
So this was in '99.
Yeah.
So I just signed up with Ford.
Yeah.
And then you had 3 drivers in the team. So Colin McRae, Carlos Sainz.
What a team.
Yeah.
What a team.
Honestly, you have no idea.
That's unreal.
I have so many stories, but we can't take them here now.
Yeah.
Then they called me and said, Petter, you need to come and drive in Safari Rally.
Yeah.
No preparation, nothing at all, So I need to fly in the morning. And this was in the afternoon, I don't remember which day. And then I was so stressful about it. So me and Pernilla, we took the car into the airport.
Yeah.
Parked it outside the airport and slept in the boot of the car to not miss the flight in the morning. Came down, did the recce. And normally at that time, you can drive the recce, the route, with the rally car.
Yeah.
With the helicopter in front of you. But of course, I was a young driver, so I got a Land Cruiser. So I destroyed 3 Land Cruisers because it's very rough. I had no support team. And then the car broke down, and the stages was 160 kilometers long.
Oh.
Nobody found me. I was away for 12 hours. Then you go into shakedown, and I was flat out, and I destroyed the car a little bit with parts and bending some arms, but I was super happy, it went really well, And then the boss came, really pissed off. I was down on the knees crying. I'm just about to send you back home again, he said, because this idiot driving you're doing, And I was crying, oh yeah. And then ended up, I came 5th and Colin McRae won the race. So it was a hell of a party and everybody was happy. But I had a few of them basically, But Colin McRae supported me a lot because he was maybe the guy who was crashing the most. So he said, Petter, give a shit, you have to be fast, that's the main thing. So I had one really good friend who took care of me anyway that time. So,
dude, what an amazing person he was, eh?
Incredible. And then we drove a few years together, and then I won the race in Cyprus. I think he was 3rd. And then he asked me, Petter, maybe you should come back home to me to Mallorca, So I changed all my plan. I called Pernilla and said, I'm going with Colin to Mallorca. So he had a private plane that time. And we take the private plane. Yeah, no problem. I come with you. So went into the plane. So you can choose between, because it was a little bit small plane, so you have to choose between toilet
or beer
or bar. The toilet went out, and we took straight in with the bar. And the thing is, we should have had the toilet, but we were pissing in bottles because we were drinking so much. We came to Mallorca, and Alison, his wife, had organized, a big dinner for all the neighbors, you know, like a little bit nice, and we came there completely pissed, you know, in there, we're going out party. She was pissed off like hell, and big mess. It was small bottles also, you know,
Dude,
to piss in, so it was a big problem in the plane.
So funny. We the first time I ever went on a private plane, it was a small little plane, but there's a desert race. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Fink Desert Race in Australia. It's a motorcycle. They do like trophy trucks and stuff there. But there's a guy, Jeff Leask. He was the guy that ran KTM in Australia from Perth, actually. And I was going out there to film. Like before I did the podcast, I was doing all the film stuff. And so I'm like maybe 20 years old, and I'm all excited. I'm about to go on this private plane, and we start just piling all of the luggage in the toilet. And I'm like, how the fuck are we going to piss on this flight? So he's like, yeah, no, we need to save space, so we're going to pile everything in the toilet. And then there's just cartons and cartons of beer start coming. It's like a 6-hour flight. And then there's 3 bottles of orange juice, and he's on the runway. And he just pours out all these bottles of orange juice, and he pissed in the orange juice bottles the entire time. And when we got back, there was 3 full bottles of apple juice that looked like apple juice.
Oh, what do you do? You know,
No, that's
how it is.
As soon as you said
Glamoro private plane, you know.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I was like, that's exactly what happened. Dude, but what a special guy, that Colin was. Just flat out.
Yeah, he was a very good guy. We had vacation together, and this is the thing, you know, that is another story. We did some marketing in Spain, me, Colin McRae, and my co-driver. Mm-hmm. We had a hotel room beside each other on this PR event, you know. So we went for dinner, got the party and everything, yeah. So then Colin called me and said, Petter, I'm going to have a baby. Oh, fantastic. I'm going to tell you also, Colin, you know. Me too. Oh, fantastic. Congratulations, you know. And when is it going to be born? He said, I think it was December or something, yeah. So his kid and my kid, same date. My co-driver called me, I'm going to have a baby. Same date.
No.
It's crazy. All 3 kids, same date. So, of course, we have been having, you know, some good fun in Spain, basically, because that was the weekend we had all 3 of us with the girlfriends, you know.
No way.
Yeah. So I ended up, Oliver born 3 months too early. I was in New Zealand that time when he was born. Just going on the plane, he got born. And Allison, you know, because in the helicopter accident, his son died with him, basically, you know.
Yeah.
So, same age as Oliver, basically, you know. So Allison, you know, is like following Oliver, and
yeah,
because it feels like, you know, it's the same.
There's a connection.
But it's tough, you know. I remember I was in the sofa in Monaco when this happened, and heard it on the BBC News, and crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and just because I mean he was a larger than life character, you know, and he was almost bigger than the sport in a way
because of the game.
Yeah,
that's you know, the game changed everything for the sport, basically. You know? It's a little bit like Netflix on Formula One, you know.
Yeah, or Tony Hawk for skateboarding.
Tony Hawk also, you know, it's the same thing. You know, it's when you are first with something, I mean, it gets massive. So, but he was a character that enjoyed life to the fullest, and but fantastic person. He helped me a lot all the time, and I remember after the recce we went out for dinner together. First we were bicycling a lot and had a dinner, and then he bought a wine. I remember. The bottle that time was €100. And are you serious? You know, this is mad. Yeah, but we have to enjoy, you know, and, you know, it's very important. Okay. Because I didn't have any, like, money when I came into the sport, you know.
Yeah.
No salary or nothing. And and then he just signed a £5 million salary for a year, and then he did this. Oh, incredible, you know. To be Scottish, you're normally very tight, but he was very generous, you know.
Yeah. Man, that's so cool. What made him such a great driver, do you think?
I think through the family living in Scotland, his driving style was very opposite of my driving style. You know, he was full attack, sideways. I have a neutral driving style, clean. You know, like Sebastian Loeb. We came into the sport with a new thinking of not have the car to oversteer. You know, have it neutral, very effective.
Yeah.
Who's also more difficult in one way compared with having sideways, because sideways is more safe. So we...
How is sideways more safe?
Yeah, because you get more margin when you have a neutral car in stages where you have to follow. It has to be perfect. It's not like you position it and then you have a margin to
yeah, because then you can kind of like modulate with the throttle, right?
Yeah, but you're faster, you know, straighter you go basically, even with the four-wheel drive, you know. So, the driving style changed when me and Loeb came in with a completely different philosophy of driving style, basically. You know?
Yeah.
And but he was full attack all the time. You know, I remember I came in the car with him on the test, because I went to every test he did, because when I was young I wanted to learn, maybe come into the car at the end of the test.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I waited and waited and waited, and I was pushing and pushing. Please come in. Petter, you know, I was so fed up with you asking all the time. You know, you're a pain in the ass. You know, yeah. But you know, I was so. At the end of the day, I came in the car with him or Carlos Sainz and tried to see how they were driving. But Colin's driving style was so. It was fucking crazy. I say, I can never do this. You know, no chance. And then came in with Carlos Sainz. Yeah, it was closer to mine, but I never thought I could even do it, you know. And then when you get in and you get your driving style in, and it was faster. So, but I never forget, I almost shit myself, to be honest with you. I came sideways back in with the ass, you know, into every corner. And, spectacular driving.
Well, I think his driving style really made rally. It was the picture of rally at that time, you know, because it was just everything was just full send, sideways, just throwing shit everywhere. And
crashed 3 times on the rally, rolled 3 times and still continue. I mean, now, if you roll now, you know, you finished and FIA stops you.
Some of the, like, him getting out of the car and just like kicking the fuck out of the car to get it back on the road. Like, he really did kind of embody the spirit of rally for a very long time.
Rallying is so different sport, you know. I respect Formula One. I like it to follow and stuff, you know. And yeah, same with Kimi Räikkönen, driving my team for 2 years together. Valentino Rossi drove with us in the Subaru for 2 rallies. And so, you know, all these guys love rallying, but rallying is so much with experience is difficult. Well, same with every sport, but rallying is so many variables.
Yeah.
So many things that has to match, because nobody believed that I could be fast. I remember that time also when I came from Rallycross and hill climb. They said, "Oh, Petter, you will never be fast in rallying, you know, so far away." And it was true, but that's when you have to really put in, believe in it and work and everything. So I think it's possible, but you just have to put in some work. It's not easy. You need a lot more experience from this, basically, you know.
Yeah. So what's the so what is Rallycross? Like the Rallycross that you raced before you started rally, what does that look like?
That's on the track. On the track, you know, same as Formula One, but on gravel and tarmac, basically, you know.
Okay, so it's more just circuit racing.
Circuit racing, yeah. With jumps and gravel and tarmac 50-50, and you're on the start line together, 5 cars beside each other. And
so you did that before rally? Because I thought I guess I just thought Rallycross was a newer thing. Like I wouldn't have imagined that you were doing Rallycross before you actually started rally.
Yeah, it's an old sport, you know.
Really?
Yeah, from the 70s. And
No way.
yeah, full action. Pernilla's father is actually European champion in the 70s.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I just didn't think that it was in that version of, because it's kind of the same now.
No, but it was biggest in Scandinavia.
Yeah, okay.
You had the Lyden Hill and some in England.
Yeah.
But Scandinavia was huge that time, you know.
So did you ever have eyes on rally as the end destination, or it just happened?
No, because I won everything else, so I need to find a new challenge, you know, find a different angle without money. and then that's when the Volvo 240 original came into the picture, because it was €6,000 car or 4,000 or whatever. So it was a cheap way to get in, and everything changed like in 3 years. And then when I tried that with the Volvo, instead of going, you know, against the Formula One or whatever, I'm sure I could have gone well that direction also. But the smile and happiness when you are doing a rally and sitting in a rally car, I mean, I was smiling, and I went from the...
You're smiling now.
Yeah, but I went for the happiness.
Yeah.
That when you're coming out from a car, you are so, you know, full of energy, you know.
So alive.
When I drove the circuit, you know, you did the same every lap, you know, everything, you know, has to be perfect. It's a different thing, but I got so much smile out of the other one, so I need to go that way, you know.
So you basically, you flew to get this car, and then you put 5 rally tires in the back of it.
Yeah, because I got some...
And then you rallied it all the way home.
Yeah, because I got some spare parts with it, you know. And you should never drive a rally car on the road like that. 900 Ks back home. Back Friday morning, prepared it, put it on stickers, put it on the power steering, and I drove the race on Saturday. But I exploded 5 tires on the motorway. And should have been in jail, basically. You know? Yeah, it's. But I didn't have a choice.
So the first rally that you do,
96, I think. End of 96 was my first rally, and then I did the Celica when I crashed in 97.
So that first rally though, you got no, what's your road book? What's your, like, you're just fucking blind basically?
It was one of the hardest classes in rallying because every car is the same. Then my brother's wife is Swedish, and she needed to come in the car because there was Swedish plates on it. So I needed her to be a car driver.
No way.
And she said she could read pace notes. And I never heard pace notes, so, but she was shit, you know, she couldn't read. So I told her, just throw the pace notes in the back. So I drove with what I saw, and I ended up second, you know.
No way.
Yeah, beat the Norwegian champion and everything. So, but I couldn't have her in the car after, you know, it's no chance, you know. Then I started to learn pace notes and try to understand how it worked, and yeah.
That's so funny.
It just happened.
So you know what else is kind of mind-blowing in this whole story? Is that you could just walk into a fucking bank and that they would give you money.
Oh, no, they said no first, yeah.
But that's never happening now, ever.
No, but I told people that you should not do what I did, you know. Because if you borrow €100,000...
Oh, you were fucked.
With the 50... and the burnout in the first corner that I didn't tell the bank about, you know, that's it.
Yeah.
So, but that's why you needed results, you know, to get sponsors. It was not just to be a part of it. You need the results, you know. But yeah, for sure, you know, I shouldn't advise people to do that because they're risky for risk. But I didn't think. I only had one goal. It was to drive and win. But you could have been finished, huh?
Dude, yeah. Imagine if you you did. You fucked the Celica. But imagine you just get yourself in a hole, no results. Like, dude, $15,000 salary with 100,000+ euros of debt, you were done.
Yeah, especially at that age, you know. But the thing was that when I sold my Volvo to buy pay my brother. That was not enough, you know. But that Volvo I bought back again, rebuilt it exact like I had it in 96, same stickers, same engines, everything the same. And I have it in the museum now. So I bought the car back, got the car back again, you know. Because I have 30 cars in the museum now, so I try to build all the history with all the helmets, overalls.
Yeah.
Almost every car. But some cars are dead, you know.
Yeah,
so I can't find them.
What's your favorite car?
For sure, the Subaru. Because my first winning car, I got as a present from Subaru.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I got it straight from Rally GB, 2002.
Yep.
With the gold book and everything. And I was actually, 1 month ago, I had it on social media. I actually was out driving all the cars I had in the museum. And all of them work fantastic, you know.
Really?
Yeah. So, same seat position I had that time and everything. So, Volvo started straight away. And the Citroens, the Rallycross cars, and because the World Championship winning car, I will using Goodwood this year.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So Lando will go there, Valentino, Oliver, me. So we'll do some big action.
Yeah. Did you see when Liam Lawson drove the rally car at Goodwood?
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
He actually was fucking ripping, eh?
Yeah, because that stage is quite tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was extremely impressed. Like when he got in the car, and I don't think that they thought he would do as well as he did.
No, but he's from Australia, yeah.
New Zealand.
New Zealand, is it?
Yeah, New Zealand.
But used to gravel roads and maybe coming from a farm or I don't know. But obviously, he's a talented driver, so.
Yeah, I was very, very impressed when I saw that. This episode is brought to you by Ridge, and honestly, it's pretty cool because Ridge was one of the very first sponsors of this podcast, all the way back in 2018 when we were just getting going. And they sent me a wallet something like 7 years ago, and no joke, I have carried that exact same one every single day since. And it is still going strong. Luckily, I got a new one this month. I was definitely due for a refresher. And before Ridge, I was carrying a disaster. A fat, beat up leather brick, cards spilling everywhere, sitting on the thing all day. And you know who still has a wallet just like that? Your dad. At this point, it's not even a wallet, it is a filing cabinet. This is the Ridge. Slim, holds up to 12 cards plus cash. It's built out of alloy, titanium, and carbon fiber, and the thing is basically indestructible. It is RFID blocking, so nobody is skimming your cards, and they have over 50 colors and styles, including the new 90s capsule drop, the Hot Rod, Lone Wolf, and Thunderbird. Here is the part I love. Ridge was built by a father and son, and every product has a lifetime warranty. This is literally the last wallet you or your old man will ever have to buy. Over 100,000 5-star reviews back that up. So the timing of all this is perfect. Ridge is running their Father's Day sale right now, up to 40% off their best gear. Head to ridge.com/gypsytales and grab Dad something he will actually use every single day. So your first go in the World Rally Championship, was that 99 when you were teammates with
98 Swedish Rally with the Toyota Celica 205.
Okay. So that was the first WRC entry that you had.
Yeah.
When did you even know that the WRC was a thing and that was something that you were going to try and get to?
I went to watch Swedish Rally. It was minus over 20. Oh. And me and my friends, we went in what do you call it? Not the camper van, but camper trailer.
Yeah.
Into the forest in 96. Cold like hell. We went into the forest, look at the rally. With Tommy Meckin and Colin McRae, all when we were standing there, you know. This was 96. And came back again. Everything was robbed out from the camper van. Camping trailer. So we had nothing. So what we ended up, because we had these farmer suits, you know, with very warm stuff, you know. And it was like, what can I say? agriculture heat suit, you know, so it's not very sexy, you know. It's
yeah.
So we went to town because we didn't have a choice, and we went to this discotheque with a lot of people, party. We went in with these suits and stuff, and then we had a party, and then I sat down with some guys there. He was from Norway, and he was the marketing director for Castrol.
No way.
So we ended up there sitting, having a drink and having fun with a lot of people, and ended up getting sponsorship from Castrol after that night and I'm still ambassador for Castrol worldwide. So, I mean, everything happens in the bar.
Yeah.
Most times, you know.
Yeah.
Well, especially early days.
Well, I was about to say, it's kind of sad now because it doesn't really exist in the same way. At least not in motocross and supercross.
I see a lot of things have changed there, you know.
So much, eh? But I mean, I think if I look back at my career, because like I said, I was a filmmaker before I got into the podcast, and so many of the relationships that I have is because I've been fucking hammered with someone at 3 a.m. telling our life story, you know what I mean? And then it's like the trouble that you get into. This is like the secret that people don't understand. When you're like partying and doing things that like maybe not everybody should know about, if you can keep like a little group, and there's a lot of trust that comes from those groups, you know, and if you can be like one of the boys in that circle, but now, you can form some good relationships.
100%, and this is where most of my time now everything is so corporate and everything, you know. But I still like this old-fashioned part, you know, because it's actually some of the best businesses you can do is when you are coming together with the same passion and same goal and what you want, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay, I have another story.
Yeah.
No.
It's funny.
I have to tell you this.
Yeah, let's go.
So, when I started my own team.
Yep.
So
it's like 2009?
2009, yeah. So I went in all in. So I was on the phone all the time because Subaru was a part of, when they stopped, was a part of paying for me not to stop, basically, you know, because of the long relationship and seriousness, you know. So they were a part of building my teams. So when I bought the Citroens,
no way,
it's crazy. So then I worked on the sponsor to build up the team. I did everything in 3 weeks. So I had the driver with me, went around having meetings. So I went into this, so I called around and I called this guy, a bank in Norway, and I said, hi, it's Petter Solberg again. So I said, like, it's the same story, you know, even when you are 18 till when you are, I don't know what that was, you know. And then I told him, you know, I got the contact through my friend that, you know, you should be a part of this team. Oh, Petter, I will not sponsor you. No chance. Yeah, but let me come in and you can see the presentation anyway. And you can see. Yeah, but I'm just telling you now, no sponsorship. Okay, yeah, fair enough, yeah. So I went in there, you know, went into the meeting. And the thing is, you know, everybody had like everything on the computer, and when they show a presentation, I made proper everything. So you can hold in it, take on it, read it, see the logos, design and everything properly that he will get, have it on the table. So, okay, but we have 10 minutes. That's it, you know, I have to go to the next meeting, but I will not sponsor you. Okay, so I went through the presentation quickly, going through everything. And we sat for 1 hour. Went out from the office and he said, Petter, I don't know what happened, but I sponsor you for €1 million per year for 3 years. So, and this was not my plan. Shake hand and that's it. Money in the account next week.
Incredible. That's so
And he
incredible.
had decided before I came, no chance. So you need to show the passion and the enthusiasm, what you want and how you want it, you know? Yeah. So...
well, and it's funny, there's a lot of...
okay, I had another story. So I had this big party on my farm.
Yeah.
So I invited all the whole management and everything, you know? And at my hotel, my brother was with a lot of other people, so I couldn't be there. So I took them everything into my farmhouse. Came with the bus, and they're gonna leave at 10 o'clock after the dinner and everything. Yeah, so everybody in suit and everything. At 4 o'clock in the morning, everybody was so pissed. The bus driver was sleeping in the sofa. Shirts off, big party, proper. And the big boss of this company for all the Scandinavia, he was going with his son to the slalom the day after.
Yeah.
And he said, Petter, I will take your Porsche in the morning. How about you can't drive, you know? So he went up, couldn't see him anymore. And we were looking for him because the bus was going. And the guy said, but we have to take him. And I said, I will fix it, you know? So in the morning after, he was still pissed. And he going to be with the son at 11 o'clock north in Norway for the slalom championship, yeah?
Yeah.
So at 9 o'clock in the morning, I had a helicopter outside and he wanted gloves for his son because he promised to buy, the slalom gloves.
Yeah.
I fixed the gloves. The helicopter jumped in and he was up to the slalom place with the gloves before his wife and the kid, everything fixed.
Dude, looking like an absolute legend to his wife and kid.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to find solution always, you know. Do the best you can and have fun with it but also it's these stories that is I like and it's really cool, you know.
Yeah, and it's funny when you're saying, so you've had both of those situations where you go to the bank, they're like, no, and a lot of people take no as no.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of, there's business books that you can read that they basically will tell you to get to the no as fast as possible.
I never read the book.
Yeah. You were just doing this instinctively, right?
Yeah.
But it's like it's a well-taught thing that basically a negotiation starts when they say no. And so many people think that a negotiation ends when they say no, but it's the opposite. It's a negotiation actually starts at no, and you should get to the no first, and then you should figure out why they said no, because then you can pivot from there. And you're just doing that shit instinctually.
Yeah. I don't know. I just trying and. I want things to happen, you know. But of course, you have to deliver also.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's not that, thank you very much, and that's it, you know.
Mm.
So we're trying to do a lot of, it's like COVID, you know. When you have sponsors, for example, for Oliver or your ambassador, you can't do so much, you were locked in. That's the reason why we made the Solberg World Cup in gaming. Because then we put the company's name into the game. So when you stood on the start line, you can see like Monster or Volkswagen or whatever, you know. So it's just different things of finding angles to keep everybody happy, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and at least how I think about.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers to that, mate. And I think about it all the time, and we're in the business of just delivering for sponsors. Yeah. Like that's literally
whatever you do.
Everyone's in that business, right?
Whatever you do, you should perform.
Yeah.
If you are on the dance floor, you want to be. It's the same thing. You want to be looking good. You have to give all in. You know, I was a dancer early days also. You know, so you need to perform whatever you do, even if you don't like it or not. Perform.
Yeah. How I think about it is that I don't think about money in terms of money. I think about money in terms of value.
I fully agree with you. That's many people is wrong.
Yeah. So
100% right.
My whole thing, whenever I hear the word money, I just delete that and I put value instead. And so I tell people all the time, I want to start a podcast. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I'm like, what's the value? What's the value that you're going to bring? Because the value money is an agreement between all of society that we will pay you for your value.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So everybody, all you need to do is just think in terms of the value that you can create. So like, I know my value proposition with this podcast, and I know that I need to be valuable to the guests, I need to be valuable to the listeners, and then I need to be valuable to the sponsors. And the more value that I provide in each of those things will equal more value back, and that is money.
Exactly. But people start on the wrong side many times, you know.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. This is that's why many people fail, you know, because if the last thing you want to hear, or when you're employing people, is, you know, first salary, when can I have a vacation, and how many coffee breaks, you know?
Yeah.
No job, basically, you know.
Yeah.
For me, it's always or Pernilla, because Pernilla is the one in charge doing the job, basically, you know. I'm just playboy, like like her mother says, you know, from Norway. Not anymore, you know. Yeah, now we're okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's such a hack if you can think like this in life. It's just a cheat code to being successful. And we were talking about the other day, like, obviously we have a big sponsorship with Monster, and so there was people that are just like, oh, I bet you're stoked, I bet it's a relief. And I'm like, no, it's the opposite, because now there's an outsized return that I have to create. So whatever they gave me, in my mind, I need to double that return. So it's like the work,
at least.
The work doesn't start. The work doesn't stop now. It's not like, oof, yeah, sweet, I got this contract now. That's like the problem. It's like, okay, now I need to actually solve this problem.
It's the same as getting a contract in rallying. Oh, now I got the contract, you know. It's the same, you know, now it really starts, you know.
Yeah.
It's the same, you know, we, like the competitor of this brand, have offered me 3 times before and Oliver 2 times before. More. But the relationship of a value, or having a long relationship, stability is much more important, you know, than anything else. But this is where people are jumping too quick many times, instead of have respect for what you, because if you're changing brands or doing things, it's a short life you have, basically, you know. Yeah. It's like me and Castrol, or me and Monster, you know. Yeah. Long time. So when I going to all the rallies all around the world, you know, you have all these people who you can take care of as a brand ambassador, to be, you know, to give them happiness, you know. Yeah. So, but when you change, you know, it's not good, you know.
Well, I think about every relationship in the same terms of a bank account, right? So if you have a bank account that pays 5% interest, and then you keep depositing into that bank account, not only is the principal growing, but then it starts to compound. And so you can see this compound interest curve in bank accounts, you can see it in driving skill, you can see it in relationships. So that this curve it's almost a natural law. It's
but deal with the interest rest, you have to do every year,
yeah. But you can't pull the money out, right? Yeah. And so basically, like, the thing you have to not do is go back to zero. So if you change sponsors, then you go back to zero.
100%.
Or if you're with a chick for 3, 4, 5 years, then you break up with her and you go back to zero and you start a new bank account. So it's like you lose this effect of compound interest, and that compound interest just gets more powerful every single year.
And then it's a big job to try to reach the top again, where you have actually built up and you have the big values. Yeah. So you're not stupid, you know, because it's not many people understand this, you know.
Yeah, and I think that it's the same in relationships. You know, like when
you have to perform. If you break up and you get a new one, you have to perform like hell, basically, you know, and that takes a lot of energy.
But it's true, you know, like you can pull the money out of the relationship bank account, then you're back to zero. You got no compounding. Like I think that if people can think in those terms in life in general, like, it's where a lot of people have a lot of success, you know. And it's a law. It's almost like a law the same way that physics or traction is a law, you know, like you can really invest in that as true.
You have a bed life, stability, and the red line through. This is, you know, it's like my father always said, you have one name. That's it. If you fuck up your name one time, you fuck up for a long time. So that's why I always, you know, okay, my father, you know, these values in life, you know, it's just sometimes is so simple, you know.
Yes.
So I taken that. Pay your bills, take care of your name.
Yeah. Well, because it can take 30 years to build a name and 30 seconds to destroy it.
And now it's social media can very quickly.
Yeah.
Luckily, we didn't have social media our time, you know. It would have been destroyed very quickly in young age.
How wild was the scene in the early 2000s with the parties and everything? Like, was it crazy back then in rally?
Yeah, you have no idea. You know,
That's awesome.
Even in Formula One and IndyCar, and you know, when we went to trips and stuff. I mean, Facebook started basically, you know, and then people can put out all the pictures themselves that time, you know.
Yeah.
So it came up a lot of shit, you know, and it was hard work. But honestly, you know, the friendship that time, you know, is like now these days. None of the drivers go out like for dinner together or train together or whatever, you know. That time we had, you know, even if it was competitor, we went to have dinner, we were training, have fun. A different mentality. Now it's so professional, and it changed. You need to be on this level if you're going to have a chance.
Yeah.
But that time it was the much more enjoyment beside the sport, basically, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not the same now.
No.
Oliver, when I talked about all these stories, you know, incredible. And now he's coming in, into the sport. It's not the same at all. I miss your stories, you know. How can I make my own stories, you know? But it's different.
Yeah, it's just a completely different time. So let's talk about your first full season WRC. What was that experience like?
Yeah, there was a lot of crying, like I told you.
Yeah.
A lot of shit. I was fast, but you know, I came in too early. This is the thing, you know. I didn't have enough experience. I started in 97 with rallying, Norwegian champion 98. Did my first, you know, with the Celica myself in the World Championship, won, and then into Ford. And I admit myself that it was too early, you know. But they wanted me, so build up. But I should have had much more experience before I, you know, get into the team, basically, because you did too many mistakes, and you want to, you know, you can't accept to not be fast, you know, because that's the only thing you have, you know. Bad English at the same time, but I was using legs and arms.
Yeah.
I couldn't use my own co-driver because the communication between me and the team couldn't work with the Norwegian co-driver, so I put it in an English co-driver to learn my English. And so I was most of the time alone, you know, traveling alone and around, and I was new to everything. For me to come out from my farm, basically, you know, I mean, it was so far away from the real world. So I had some tough nights in the hotel room many times, to be honest with you. You know, it's because I'm a family guy, farmer, and didn't have money to bring people or to come with me around, and it was a very new experience.
Yeah, and I can't imagine how hard it would be to be fast and try not to crash the car. Like, they're two competing philosophies, and it would be quite hard to be in a position where you're trying to go fast and trying to make a name for yourself and try to make sure that you get a job for the next year, but then also not crash your rally car.
But this was the thing, you know. They said, Petter, you have to be fast but not crash. This was like the thing, yeah. Well, I'm trying, yeah, but I believe in speed more, because if you don't have the speed, it's difficult to push somebody to
get faster.
To get faster,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It's better to be very fast and do mistakes, but at least that you can control with experience. But the other way is really tricky. But I crashed a lot of cars, you know. I had one big accident when I thought I killed my car driver in Germany one time.
Really?
Yeah. And he went to hospital. Next rally was Rally Japan. First time Subaru coming to Japan. And my car driver was in hospital. We're going to leave in 5 days to go to Japan for the first time. And the car, it was bad. And I came to the hospital and I said, Phil, will you be ready for the race? And he was full of morphine. Yeah, no problem, you know. And many people say, okay, Petter is finished now. This is difficult to get back from. And first stage in Japan, I won with 13 or 15 seconds in front of Loeb.
Dude.
Won the race. Went to the next rally. Won the race. Went to the next rally. Won the race. So the mental focus on respecting the accident, but still want to be good, you have to dig very, very deep. But 3 rallies in a row I won after that, you know. So it's possible, but it depends how you work with yourself or how much you want it.
Yeah.
And of course, I was never afraid of anything, you know. This is also a problem sometimes, you know, because you never find any limit sometimes, but that comes with experience. But the focus increased from 100 to 110% of focus, concentration, and want to show, compare with what other people said, basically, you know. It's like 96, Petter, you will never be a good rally driver because it's so different. It does something with you that, well, for me anyway, that you really have to, if you want it, you have to, you know, put in proper job with it, you know.
So the crash where your co-driver got injured, that was almost a part of how successful you were in those few races after? Like it just changed maybe like the level of seriousness that you had around, like...
I think the seriousness was there, you know, but it's very difficult to say, you know. It just depends how much you really want it. And I mean, in general in life, you know, you need a kick in the ass sometimes, you know. And for the good.
Yeah.
And people can give you shit, and okay, they maybe want the best for you anyway, you know. So it's a good question. I haven't figured that out yet, you know, what you are, you know, talking about there, why. But I think just the pure motivation of not disappoint the team or the people around that show the fuckers, you know, just it's
well, and I'm sure that there's a part of, I mean, I'm sure your ego maybe took a bit of a hit in that moment as well, like that it's a real, okay, there's real consequences, this is a real thing that we're doing, and the fact that you didn't have much fear, I mean, that's kind of scary in itself. To not have fear makes me feel fear for you, you know. But that consequence maybe was the right thing to just like point your ego in a bit of a better, more constructive direction in a sense.
I think so. I think so, because when you are in this sport too, you know, like winning and things are well, people hype you, or like Lando Norris or whatever, you know, okay, Hamilton is maybe over that now. It's very easy that you can change a little bit.
You can believe it.
You can believe it, yeah. And so I think again, you know, that even in business or whatever, you know, even you are, you know, the boss of the company, sometimes you need to hear the truth, and you have to react to things, you know. Not sit on the chair and, you know, I'm the boss. And so I think it's the same a little bit everywhere, that reality check is not a bad thing sometimes, you know.
Yeah. It's so true that you say that, right? But as the boss of the company, you want people to tell you the truth. But I don't think people that you're paying money want to risk telling you the truth sometimes. And I think that it's the same for drivers. It's the same for a lot of people that, you know, they've got these people that are like underneath them in terms of the hierarchy, and you want them to be able to tell you, and that's a hard balance.
But that's a good point what you say, because all the people we have had employed or in the team, even if it's the chef or the physio, this is up to the management themselves, you know, to get the people to trust you, to just give you facts and honesty. Even if it's bad, I tell you, if it's shit or something, just say it.
Yeah.
Because then you can react to it.
You can move forward.
Move forward, and you can deal with it. Because a lot of these people have good ideas, but many people are afraid, like you say, that afraid to hurt someone. But if you get people on board, like when I choose people around me, you know, it's the people who's actually have the balls to say shit to you. You know, you have to wake up, and I think this is the best. You know.
Yeah, it's a tough balance though.
It's a tough balance, but that's why you need the right people with you. You know, because without the good people around you, you have no chance. I always, you know, I'm not good at many things, but I have very good people around me. Okay, like Pernilla, she's incredible. Email and papers, I never seen the email or, you know, whatever. I talk to people. But she have all these other things that she's very good at that I have no clue about, you know. And I'm only trying to do things that interest me every day. When I wake up in the morning or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I want to do what I want that makes me happy. But I will not do her job because that's a shit job, you know.
Yeah.
But she loves it.
Yeah.
But life is too short to not have fun all the time.
To do what you want to enjoy.
So if you have a job that you don't like, you change job. You know, this is the thing to make you happy, and it's enough jobs around, you know, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a big advocate for that. And even like there's like four boys on our team.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you got to be enjoying what you're doing. Like, this can't feel. Obviously, we all have to work and we all have to produce our product, but this has to be something that is enjoyable. And if it's not, then we can't be doing it, because that's the only reason I'm doing this, because I don't want a fucking job that I don't like.
I agree with you.
So
have fun.
So you get through that difficult season. So when you went 3 in a row, was that 2002 or 2001? What year was that?
I don't remember.
So 2003 is when you win the World Championship. So let's talk about that year and that experience. Like, were you feeling by this time that you were in the running to win a World Championship?
In reality, it was maybe too early, for sure. But when clicks and you get taste of something you're close, it also does something with you, you know. And because the point system that time was different. It was very small points between each place, you know. It was 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Now it's like 25, 17. So it was much more. We were 4 people who can win the World Championship on the. Yeah. There was Richard Burns, me, Carlos Sainz, and
Loeb,
I think. Yeah. So I believe I wanted it more than the other guys, basically, you know. And I remember on the night before, stayed in the Castle Hotel overnight, someplace in Wales.
Yeah, because it was Wales that you won the championship, right? Yeah.
Stayed in the hotel, this castle, very nice. And there was a brandy in this glass bottle there. Nervous like hell before the day after. Okay, I took, you know, alone, 1 glass, went to sleep. I was full sunshine the day after, a little bit cold in the morning. And just killed them, basically, you know. It's just that feeling, you know, and also before the last stage, you know, because it was live on TV in most places, you know, and the team got a phone call because I was swearing a lot always, and the team got a phone call from the Norwegian government because it was the main thing in Norway, and they said, you know, you have to ask Petter to not swear. So the team called me before the last stage. When you finish the line, don't swear because a lot of kids is watching, you know. So of course, you know, I was thinking, what the fuck, you know, what is listening? Came over the finish line, fucking hell, you know, full, because the king and the prime minister and everything, because it was the biggest football match in Norway.
Yeah.
At the same time. So they stopped the football match and put it on the live on the big screens.
No way.
Yeah. So the prime minister and the king, all the football players sat on the field and watching this live.
That's epic.
Yeah. It was crazy, you know. You can think when they're coming back home, 10,000 people. I got Tommy Meckin's private plane, took it back home, landed, helicopter, red carpet, and then flew to the farm because they wanted a big party in Oslo. And my father don't say much, and he said it's going to be in the hometown. So 10,000 people. This police was there, you know, who took me when I was young, and just incredible. You know, there was the whole. Well, we lives 4,000 people in my town, and when you have 10,000 people, you know, it's. I was a huge thing, you know. Huge thing.
That's unbelievable. That's so cool that they stopped the football match. And they all watched you win the world title.
The biggest cup final you have in England, for example. That's... Yeah, so I was crying a lot also that night, you know.
That's so wild. And the crazy thing as well is that Corsica before that, like you almost... So in the fucking the recce stage,
the shakedown, yeah.
Yeah, you write the thing off pretty much
straight into a telephone pole,
and the team has to stay up. They're like, "Do we ship a car from the UK? Can we fix this thing?" So they get it ready for 7 a.m.
7 a.m. in the morning. I went over the ramp at night, walking. I was the only one. It was finished, painted, and everything. The wheels was not straight properly, but it was okay. And then we ending up winning because we had Pirellis that time and they were good in the wet, but not good in the dry.
Yeah.
So a little bit lucky with the weather.
Well, Loeb crashed out, and then who else crashed that?
I don't remember.
God,
I have bad memory.
One of the other boys crashed out, and then you end up winning, and it pretty much saved your championship.
Yeah. But in 2004, I was much faster than everyone. That was my best year. I should have been a world champion easy. But I had a technical problem, 4 rallies. I won 6. And then leading 4 others, and then had technical problem.
Yeah.
So actually in 2004, I was much better, you know.
Really?
Yeah. So 2004 was my best year. That's when I was ready. I even told the team I should... Don't change the car. Leave it like it is, and I will win 10 rallies for you. Quite confident, you know. And I won 6, leading 4, but the one technical thing they changed, because they got the engineer in from Formula 1.
Yeah.
The one thing they changed was the one thing that destroyed for my world championship.
What was it?
You know, because he wanted aerodynamic. So radiator in the car should be straight. They put it flat in rally. So when you go into water splash in Argentina, the water comes up underneath, and the pressure in the water destroy the radiator. And when you're driving second time through the stages, it's ruts and stuff like that. Then you hit the gravel with the front, and it came up on the radiator.
Yeah.
That was the only thing. Fuck. Yeah, it was actually... And then we got the procedure to drive slowly into the water splash and race the car in the ruts and stuff, but no chance, you know, it's rallying, it's...
Yeah.
keep basic things the basic
Yeah.
to basic, you know. It's
God, that had to be heartbreaking.
I was the fastest driver, you know. Okay, Loeb won the championship there, but I won 35 stages more than him. So I was much faster.
What was it like to battle Loeb? Because, like you said, you and Sebastian almost brought in this completely new style to rally, and he's one of the best ever, and you're the only person to straight up beat him in a championship.
He was a good driver, consistent.
Yeah.
If you compare him and Ogier has a top speed to push. Ogier was just consistent. But of course, you know, he was in a good team, didn't change the car so much because I have all the cars back home. I bought his car, you know, these cars. So I have the C4 and XR and all the, you know, for me it's the best cars. So I think this combination of a good team, stability, like we talked about earlier, you know.
Yeah.
Keep that and not do too much crazy things outside the box, and you will be okay, you know. And that's what they did. Just fine-tune the things you had that worked really well, and then the driver will also automatically feel more comfortable to not start like building a brand new car and go outside this box. Then you struggle, you know. So that's why I think when a brand new car came, they tried to invent the wheel, and it went so bad, you know. Even went to England and say, you know, this car is 8-10 slower per kilometer compared with last year's car, so please don't use it. But they used 10 million pounds on making the car, so they didn't want to lose face, so they have to use it, and just ended up shit.
Yep. Yeah, and that's just the age-old story in motorsports, right?
Oh, you know, that's why when you're getting new people in, they want to have their name on something that they have done. And this is, you need to keep the core values and do small details.
Yeah.
So that's why in 2010, I should also had won the World Championship in the Citroen. But then the politics, when I run my own team with Citroens compared with the factory team where Loeb was, would not let it happen. I can tell a much deeper story here, but it's...
Do you want to tell a much deeper story?
It can be a big problem. But for sure, you know...
I'll save you then. I think people can read between the lines.
I was leading a rally with 50 seconds, yeah?
Which is quite a lot in rally speak.
You should never lose it.
Yeah, unless you drive it off the road.
I ended up second.
To?
Loeb. In the same car.
Fuck.
And...
That's brutal.
And I won most stages up to that race. We're fighting for the World Championship. Next 3 rallies, because I had the chassis myself, control, but they had the engine. I didn't win a stage in the next 3 rallies, so you can understand where I'm going. Yeah?
Yeah, I can read between the lines there. Are you when it's all said and done though? So I mean, that's maybe 3-time world champion. You know, like if you 2004, you definitely should have won that.
100%.
And then again in 10, like
I should have. If I used the same car in 2003 without the radiator thing and continue with that car, it would have been looking very, very different. Okay, Loeb is very good driver. Don't take me wrong, and he deserves what he won. But no chance he would have won all this championship. No chance.
And how do you feel about that now, sitting there today?
Because I got him into Rallycross in 2015, 16, and he never beated me. And he was in the factory team. I run my own team.
Yeah.
So I have a fantastic career. Don't take me wrong. I'm happy with everything I've done. Sometimes you have to take it in your own hands to do it, and I got success. So... But it could have been much better.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's sort of what I'm getting at, right? Is like, yeah, you could have won a few extra world championships, and I'm sure that probably meant a fair bit more cash.
You have to remember, when the team was struggling because of the technical issues with the car.
Yeah.
I offered to deliver my salary back to the team to fix the car and get it right again.
Really?
So I said, I'm not here for the money, I'm after results. So I told the team boss, take my money, please, fix this car. If not, it's no point for me happiness. So, and then Citroën came and wanted to employ me. So they came with a double the offer that I had from Subaru. And I said no to, same as I did with the other brand of this, because they promised me to focus on where we was before, and it didn't happen. So I could have had different angle that time, you know. But I was afraid to come into Sebastian Loeb's team, because the cheapest thing they could do, because I was the hardest competitor, is to buy me. So, but again, I was alone about all this. I didn't have any manager or people to help me, or directions, or what is the right thing or wrong thing, you know. So
yeah.
I was the first one from Norway. I didn't have these people around me, like.
And how old would you have been through this time? Like late 20s?
Yeah. I'm the 5th youngest world champion, and so, or 3rd, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
But
yeah, a lot of big decisions, a lot of big money. And I mean, how did it feel? I always am so interested by this, when someone that grew up in such a humble way like you did, that ends up with millions and millions of dollars. Like at what point, like you said, take my salary, I don't need the money. What does your relationship with money even look like when you go from nothing to everything? Is it strange?
Of course it's strange. But again, you know, my goal in life is to achieve things. And I want to deliver my salary back. I want my parents to have good. I give my brother a lot to help the family. So it just make things easier, but it still doesn't stop me to achieve when I'm doing things to want the result, you know. It's like I had the Rallycross team, and I put it in a lot of money myself. It was stupid, because nobody will do that, you know. Because everybody wants everybody to pay for them or fix, or if not, I will not drive or do anything. But the thing is, I did it, got world champion. That value of achieving that in your private team and winning whatever you have invested to do it yourself, I'm waking up much happier in the morning with a smile when I take my coffee, that what you have done, that for me is more value than money. To actually done something, you know. You don't get more happy or more money you get, it's what you achieve by doing things, you know. Everybody's different, don't take me wrong, but because nobody would have done what I did in the private team, because that is absolutely stupid. But I had success with it, but that made me more happy, you know?
Yeah. So you learned quickly that the more money you had didn't necessarily make you happier.
Over all the years, when they got the contract on the table, I have never tried to increase it. They put the contract on the table, I signed it, and we move on. If you had a manager or other people to increase, I understand people do that. But I was so happy anyway, and it was so much more than whatever reality in life anyway. So I never was dealing. It's maybe crazy, isn't it? Or
yeah, I mean, I guess you can look at it in a couple of different ways. Like, I'm sure no matter what that dollar figure was probably more money than you ever thought that you would see.
It should have been dollar, but I changed it to euro. Just to let you know. I could choose that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was unsure about that also. Now I take euro, I said.
No way.
Yeah. It was actually very good just for that, yeah.
So I think, when you come from nothing and you end up with a lot of, like, probably more money than you ever thought you'd have anyway, maybe that decision was a bit easier.
Yeah, I think so. Look at Lewis Hamilton. You know, everything in life, everything is perfect. What I respect with Lewis Hamilton is it doesn't matter, you know. He's still after the result and working hard to achieve things, you know. So you see that with many drivers, after my opinion, you know. Lando Norris have the best, you know, life, whatever, before he came into Formula One, you know, with the family and stuff. But the respect of what is winning and doing things, I think that is good, you know. So you see different stories with different people.
Yeah.
And I think when you are world champions like these guys and stuff, there's different values that I see anyway.
Yeah.
That I respect much more than anything.
Yeah.
Normally the biggest problem with sports people is the people who is second best, you know. Normally the good, you know, really good people who different value is the winners.
Yeah.
If you evaluate a lot of sports.
Yeah, actually, I know what you're saying.
The most cocky people is the people
in the middle.
In the middle.
Yeah, but I think that's the same as. It's so funny you say that, because I think the exact same, but not just sports people, right? Like, I've met a ton of people. Like my job, in a sense, is to meet successful people, essentially. But there's so few people at the very, very, very top that are dickheads. But it's always the people that are like kind of in the middle that are trying to get to the top. But it's the same in sport. It's the same in business. Like, and it's always the people that are like trying to get there. They're like compensating for something, you know. Like the people at the top, I think, have already realized that the world championship isn't going to make you happy. The money isn't going to make you happy. Like
a world championship makes you happy.
For how long?
Well, until you want to be it again. Yeah.
yeah. But I think that's a process that people go through. And I think that it's almost a bit of a advantage that someone has that's got to the very top of something, because you realize that it doesn't bring you the happiness that maybe you thought it would. No. And then you've got to look for that. So the result, the world championship will definitely make you happy on like the days around winning it. But then that feeling fades. So you've reached the top, and now you need to find out what it really is that makes you happy. Yeah. And for you, it's waking up every day wanting to do cool, you know, new shit.
But the other thing also, when you had the sponsors or partner, it's not about, you know, the money there either many times. It's about the group of people you get around you.
Yeah, for sure.
To do it together, to have these
experiences
and stuff. So that's when I had a Peter Solberg club early days, you know.
Yeah.
I think it was 10,000 members. It was many years ago, yeah. So you had own people working to take care of the members, you know. Didn't earn any money at all. But the atmosphere of seeing the people with the membership card.
Yeah.
A guy came to me last week. He had the member card number 1.
No.
And I got it, you know. So I think to have these people with you, a part of the adventure, and giving this atmosphere and you're not doing alone.
Yeah.
For me is really cool, you know.
Yeah.
That for me is good fun. That's why you need partners who wants to be a part of it to use it.
Yeah.
Bring people, and I think this is also another thing that I always thought when I chose partners that have the same motivation, you know.
Yeah, like same energy in that way.
Yeah.
So Pernilla's going to do the pod next. Yeah. What is some things that I should ask her that she wouldn't tell me on her own, you reckon?
She's Swedish, you know. Norway is a little bit more
outgoing.
Outgoing and very Swedish. Yeah. She will, you know, it's even her family, they have a big successful family business, but they are so humble. Yeah. And she was maybe in rallying, maybe she could have been fighting in the big class. You know, she was Norwegian champion and Swedish champion third in 2 World Championship rounds together with the guys. She had a proper speed, And she got a contract in 2000 from Subaru America to do the championship. But she got pregnant, so she couldn't do it. She still regret, not regret with Oliver. It's not that what I mean, but she could have come far,
Yeah.
It's different when it's a lot more girls driving now, but her speed was proper. It's not like, it's okay,
Not like good for a girl. She was just good.
She didn't care about, she was a girl. She didn't drive in the girl class or anything, It's going to be beating the guys, basically, So she's a tough woman, hard, clever, hard business, working hard, and very passionate about motorsport. She's the president now of the WRC commission in FIA. But things are going too slow for her compared with what she wants to do,
Yeah.
But she has a huge experience from running the team, sponsor presentations, and, a good heart, good family, and So she's very impressive. I met her on the boat over to Rally GB in '98.
Really? Yeah, that was going to be my next question. How did you guys meet?
Yeah, I met her on the rally in Sweden. I won, and she won her class. She beat me on the stage also.
Really?
Yeah.
That's savage.
It's a big problem. It's followed me. It's followed me all the years,
Yeah, it's a big problem.
And she drove the class under me.
No way.
Yeah, it was.
So she's always got that over you.
Always. Even Oliver is also mentioning that sometimes, And,
Did she ever get in the sim?
no.
I wonder if she could still rip in the sim.
No, but when we are driving, it's busy. Me and Oliver are driving, yeah.
That's awesome. So you met on the boat over, and so coming off the win.
Yeah, we sat on the press conference in Norway.
Yeah.
She will explain this much better than me, And then she was cute and smiling, happy, and big, eyes, and Swedish, when the Swedish girls are speaking, it's quite, and then of course, I won the race in Norway, and she was there. I think she also won her class that time, and then I went over there, and I think I just grabbed the kiss from her,
No way.
So like the mother, like I said, Petter, the playboy, she was unsure about me, the playboy from Norway. And but still married, so it's not so bad. And then over to the boat we met, and then
Crazy.
on the Rally GB, she came to my hotel room, and she didn't have a hotel room because I stayed with my co-driver and stuff. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's a proper girl.
That's why everyone's been very excited for the podcast with both of you, but
Okay.
they've all been very excited for the podcast with her because she's a bit of a superstar by all accounts.
No, she's sitting in a lot of boards. She's a good businesswoman and a lot of experience, and just a very, very kind, nice person.
Yeah.
But of course, she gave up a lot of her career in life because of me. But she loves having a team. So for sure, our plan and dream, okay, Oliver is by himself, but is to run a factory team in rallying. That's what I'm working on now, or we.
How far away do you think you are from that?
Oh, I worked for many years already, but I can't see that now. It's a little bit Norway cockiness area. I don't see anybody better than me to do it, or else, because it will be less politics, and we will. Yeah, I have a lot of people waiting who wants to work for us.
Yeah. Okay.
Ready if I get the button ready,
So what manufacturer would you go with, do you think? Secret.
I've been working on one for many years already.
Yeah, okay.
So we have a meeting in America later this year, so it would have been really cool.
Yeah.
I think you understand which brand I'm talking about, because it can be, it would have been incredible.
Yeah. So that's maybe like the last thing left on the bucket list is to get a factory WRC team. Would Ollie drive for you?
Yeah, if it's good enough. No, but the thing is, you know, you always have to separate when you do things, you know.
Yeah.
But of course, he's the fastest. Or I mean, how can you not, for example, you know?
Yeah.
But he's by himself and he's doing his thing now, and it's maybe strange to have a son driving in there when we run. But anyway, it is how it is. I mean, nothing in life is straightforward, and you know, if it's happening, it can be really, it can be a big, fantastic story, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Man, you've lived a heck of a life.
Yeah, I'm still living every day. But Pernilla, if you ask her, you know, I'm just playing and doing whatever I want, you know. She is the worker, basically.
My wife would say the same.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Dude, this was unreal. I could talk to you for hours more.
A glass of wine now, we could have taken the proper stories. But
well, maybe I'll come drive some rally at some point. I've heard you got a pretty cool setup at your place.
It's great. You know, we had Norris up in the winter and driving. And
how was that experience?
He enjoyed. He drove the Volvo. We couldn't get him out of that one. You know, it's a cheap car, but honestly, it's great fun. It doesn't have to be the most expensive and coolest stuff, but you can still have fun with it, you know. So that's what we have, a lot of cheap cars, so we can crash into each other and fuck about, basically.
So whereabouts is your place? It's
on the
Sweden,
border in Sweden, about 800 meters from Norwegian border, 1 hour and 10 minutes from the airport, Oslo.
Yeah.
And then we have a hotel there, and then we have the ice on each side of the house, so we drive on the ice in the whole winter.
Yeah.
And it's a playground. You know, this is, you know, quad bikes, snow scooters, cars. Who makes a good lifestyle, you know? Fresh air. So we are trying to do something in the winter again, you know, maybe a Monster Invitational, or we are working on something just for fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because without any, you know, because you have to remember, like, if it's Norris or whatever, you know, it's the sport that makes them different. But when you are coming to something like this, just have fun, enjoy. You are who you are, basically, you know. It doesn't matter, you know, what you have achieved or whatever, you know. So I think this is the kind of place where we enjoy, you know, be real. This is so I think we can have some fun there.
Yeah, sweet. Well, mate, this was unreal. I enjoyed every minute of it, and like I said, I was such a big fan through those early years, and very cool to get to sit down with you. And I'm just extremely excited to watch Oliver do his thing as well. Like, I think it could be a guy like him that really kind of pushes the sport, you know.
He looks good. I think he's third in the championship. He can still win the championship even the first year, but that's maybe a big ask, you know. But speed is there, but lost a lot of points on the last couple of races. But I mean, he has so high goals himself and super motivating, and he just loves it, you know. And it's good to see, but the exciting future, and some more experience on the belt now, I think can be some really good fun.
Awesome, mate. Well, yeah, this was great, and we'll do it again sometime.
Thank you very much.
Legend.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.